Big Twizz Show. Thanks for tuning in. Hit the subscribe button. Let's get those likes up so I can bring you this free game. Big Twizz Show.
The Big Twizz Show.
Hey, what's up? Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. This is the Big Twizz Show. Man, I got a delight for you guys. I got my man Norris Francis Barnham in the building. How you doing?
I'm good, bro. I'm good, bro. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You know what? I'm sorry, my brother. Branham.
Branham, that's it.
Man,
Branham.
my mind dyslexia, man. You just told me
good.
this. My bad, King.
You good. You good. We'll break that down a little bit later so you see the science and even the names, you know what I mean, that we carry, even though they may be European.
Right? Hey, right on. We're going to get into all of that, man. I want to introduce my brother, man. I really thank you for coming on the platform to bless it. I just want to say I met this brother a couple of years ago, maybe even 3 years ago. I seen him on a video on Sonetta TV. Sonetta was speaking real highly of him, and boom, next thing I know, I seen a video of him, and it blew my mind. Us as so-called black people, we're trying to find our identity, and he dropped some jewels that made me think about, wait a minute, you know what? I have Cherokee in my family. Now, we have an issue with our identity, trying to find out who we are. They say we African, we this, we that, colored, mulatto, we were paper genocide. When I seen this brother's video, I had to reach out to him, and thank the Most High. When I reached out to him, he was very humble and helpful. He talked to me. He didn't have no kind of ego, and we've been pretty much building since then. I mean, it's been a little gap, but every time I reach out to this brother, man, he's nothing but love and help for me. And he's blessed in the show to bring you guys this information. My brother, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your story, man. The world needs to hear your story.
Okay, so let me just first start by saying Quinganao Lonwa, Nindu Shinzi, Norris Francis, Ninon Giayi, Lenapeoking, Oak, Shiekbi, Oak, New Jersey, Nawalotaman, Wandak, Takwak. So what I did is I introduced myself. I said greetings to all, greetings to everyone. My name is Norris Francis Barnham. I come from the land of the Lenape, also Shiekbi, also New Jersey. We follow the ways of the turtle. So that's just like a general traditional introduction, how we introduce ourselves. So I just wanted to extend that level of respect to you, since this is what we're going to be talking about. That's how you introduce yourself, when you're sitting down with, when you're parlaying, when you're, entering into a shack of Maxim. So I just wanted to greet y'all with that.
That's dope. Mm-hmm. Well, what I want to get into is a little bit about your background and family history. I mean, from what I heard on Sonetta, man, wow. The roots go so deep, and it's just a beautiful thing that you know your roots and you grew up in this. So please give us a little bit of background.
Okay, so first and foremost, I want to, give thanks to all my ancestors, because this information, it wouldn't even be accessible. It wouldn't be a part of who we are if it wasn't for everything that they did, the efforts they put in. So, first and foremost, I want to give obviously acknowledge my ancestors. So I come from a family that was fortunate enough for multiple reasons to be able to retain our history and our place in history, despite the fact that we were reclassified. Our identities were changed multiple times for different reasons. But I come from a basically an old family in New Jersey. Basically one of the oldest families from Monmouth County, New Jersey. And when we start getting into the history of New Jersey, you understand the significance of Monmouth County as opposed to the other parts of Jersey, our location, our relationship to New York City. So, we come from a family that is as my elders would say, we are first generation Lenape. So that is to speak of, we can trace ourselves back to the first records of Europeans. You know what I mean? Like, uh, although we have time frames of when Europeans came here, we don't, like, each individual territory has its own specific time frame of when Europeans began to intermix and create communities with the different Indian tribes. So the first communication and interaction between Native Americans and North Americans, where they were settling and they had a actual treaty that allowed them to legally settle there. This is prior to William Penn's treaty. I'm sure everybody knows about that William Penn treaty in Philadelphia. Well, 17 years before that, there was a treaty that was done in Monmouth County. That treaty took place in 1665. It's called the Monmouth Patent.
Okay.
One of my ancestors was a servant of the Englishman who made that land patent and that agreement with the Indians. So that's when my ancestors turn up on European documents, right? So yeah, so from there we ended up on an Indian reservation, and to understand, see, it's such an in-depth thing to understand what the significance of 1664, 1665 is. 1664 is the year that the Dutch surrendered New Amsterdam to the English. So prior to that, the Dutch controlled the area from what we call New York on down to like Delaware. That was Dutch territory. It was called New Amsterdam. I mean, New Netherlands. Bottom of New York was New Amsterdam. So after the control of the land switched hands from the Dutch to the English were now allowed to go deeper into parts of the area, right? Because this is before New Jersey existed, right? They're all working out of New Amsterdam, which is Lower Manhattan.
Yeah. Okay.
So once the Dutch gave up control, the English were now able to start going deeper into the land and setting up. So one of my ancestors was a servant on one of those Englishmen's ships that ended up going from New York into New Jersey prior to it ever being New Jersey. Right. Ancestor ends up on a Indian reservation, Fleming Indian Reservation. Fleming Indian Reservation currently is Flemington, New Jersey. And there's still, like, the actual home that one of my ancestors served in is actually a museum right now. Like, currently is a museum in Flemington. It's called the Samuel Fleming House. So anybody can Google these things.
Wow.
So, yeah, so one of my ancestors ended up on that reservation, ended up meeting a grandmother that was coming from Barbados, because all the slaves that were imported into New Jersey were from Barbados based on English law. So I have a grandmother that met a grandfather on Fleming Indian Reservation. They ended up that grandfather died in slavery, but his son was freed. He returned to he ended up going and commingling with his Indian relatives, and by now at this point, like by as early as like 1664, 1670s, a lot of us had already been, this is why we say we're first generation Lenape. you know, because we are the generation of children that were born from misplaced Indians as well as Europeans that were
Okay.
coming to the area. So you would have Indians that were being moved from different places, some from this is why I said it's important to understand the date. 1664 is when the British took over this area. Prior to that, the British controlled the New England area, right?
You know what? I have a question real quick. You know how they said they brought your ancestors up from uh, Barbados, right? With the time said you said 16. What was that again?
This is in the 1600s. It's the,
Six,
that's
well,
the- all-
1600s.
Yeah, early 1600s. The English took over in 1664. So once they took over in 1664, English law now applied. Prior to that, it was Dutch law.
Now,
So
when they brought your ancestors up here in the 1600s, is this when they're telling us that they were bringing Africans over?
well,
Is that the
that
message they was trying to send to
well,
everybody to confuse us?
see, I think what happens is when we're learning the history, like history is not complicated. It's just a lot of little things, right?
Right.
So when they teach us history, they teach us this, then they skip a whole bunch. They teach us this, then they skip a whole bunch. We're not interested in none of it anyway, right? So we
Right.
don't really retain, they don't teach us enough for us to understand the story, nor do we care to retain. So a lot of times of what we go on is shit that we barely learned as kids, primarily because we wasn't even interested in it. But if
Right.
you go back and start studying history as an adult, you'll see a lot of the things that you think they didn't tell you, they're right there. It's just that when they're teaching you in schools, they're breezing past so much.
Of course,
You know what I
definitely.
mean? Because
Right.
like all this information that we access now, it's been around since forever. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Right.
Like these logs we find, these things. It's just what has changed is things are more accessible.
Right.
So it
Right.
feels like they've lied to us, and very much in a lot of ways they have, but it's not to the extent like sometimes we got to pull back on the reins and take as much responsibility for things as we can. See what I'm saying? Like I know I could have been a better student when I was a kid. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. Right.
So,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like I can't put everything on they lied to us. You understand what I'm saying? Without, you know what I'm saying? Like this is not victim
Exactly.
shaming. This is taking as much responsibility on my own so I can produce something better moving forward.
Right on.
See what I'm saying?
No
But
doubt. No doubt.
yeah,
But yeah,
so
I mean to interrupt you. I
yeah,
just wanted to get that out there real quick. But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And you know, and for people who feel they lied to us and that's the emotion and the energy they want to move with, that's fine. You know what I mean? But if you study history like that, that energy and that emotion probably not going to get you the results that you're looking for. See what I'm
right.
saying?
You can redirect that energy into
Yeah,
finding out yourself, you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
So yeah, no
So,
doubt,
so,
no doubt.
so,
But yeah, please keep on
so I
going.
say all these things to say that, yeah, we like you know we come from a a a, a, a mixture of multiple groups, and this is a mixture that would have happened as early as the 1630s, 1640s. The first non-indigenous settler of New Amsterdam was a Spanish Dutchman, last name Rodriguez.
Mm,
He was kicked off the boat in New Amsterdam, and and I have all this stuff like it's on my Facebook, you know, all this information. I don't speak on things unless I've actually documented it for myself if it's outside of my family's experience. You know
and
what I'm saying?
let people know where they can go to your
Okay,
Facebook. Let
yeah,
them know.
yes. So my Facebook is Norris Francis Branham. And then on there, any of my posts that I have, references will be there. I usually do screenshots from actual websites so you can look right up at the screenshot and see where the website's from, drop the links, all these things. So so this information I'm speaking of now comes from Montclair University from their website. I can provide all the links at at another time, but
Right,
just
right, no doubt,
for the
no
sake
doubt.
of speaking on it. So this brother was kicked off the ship and he ended up settling with the Rockaway Lenape Indians, and he married and he had children with multiple women. So this is like 1615. So you
Okay,
got
the early
a
1600s. Okay.
yeah. So this is somebody in 1615, 1620. He was a he was an employee of the Dutch company. You know what I mean? The Dutch company, like any other company, they were hiring people. And the people where they were hiring weren't necessarily Dutch. You know what I mean? So when we think of the Virginia Company and all these different companies that came here, the East Indian Company, they're just that, companies. They're not nations. They're companies
Okay.
that are operating out of a nation, but
Hmm.
the people they would have employed to come over here would have been of multiple nationalities. Wouldn't
Okay.
have been Dutch. See what I'm saying? So a lot
Mm.
of times
Dutch. Okay.
people are starting to understand like Dutch as we think. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? They would have been a Dutch man that would have looked just like me or you right now.
Hmm.
See what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
So these are the people that we would call that would be the extension of who would be the original Hebrews. You know what I'm saying? That are
Right.
left over in Iberia. The same people that are getting kicked out of Iberia because they kicked all the Jews and the Moors out. And these
Right.
people, like all people have to do is study the history, and they'll see that at one point in time, the Netherlands was under control of Spain. And they got their freedom for Spain right before, um, like little after 1492, like years after they got freedom. But it was in time enough where they could build their country up and be a part of this new adventure coming to the Americas, right? But I think it's
Fertilizer.
like 15 something. The New Netherlands broke free of Spanish rule. But I say that to let you know this is why there was people in that area that weren't just like the Swedes. Like above that is like Sweden, and Norway, and that's the real blonde looking people. You know what I mean?
Okay.
The
Yeah.
Nordic
Normal.
people.
Right.
So when people think of Dutch, they're thinking that.
That.
But the
Right.
people that were in that area were not. They were the people of color that were be getting pushed out of Spain. See what I'm saying? And
Wow.
these are the ones that fled up into that area. See what I'm saying?
People, do
The-
your research. Do
yeah,
your
just do your
research.
research. Like this all ties into like King James's people.
Right.
These are all people of color who have some status, but now they gotta flee. See what I'm saying? So
Wow.
a lot of these people were hiring themselves out to get to the new world. So they would hire themselves out as servants or slaves. At the time, it was called a company slave. And a company slave is someone who would sign a contract for a company. So it's just like if Walmart's opening a store in your neighborhood and you live in a neighborhood full of nothing but black people, wildest, craziest, you know what I mean? In the middle of
Hmm.
Watts, Walmart wants to put a store. They're not going to bring a whole bunch of their people, right? The administration is going to hire HR or the like the big management is going to hire administration, right?
Right.
Administration going to hire managers. Those managers going to look like the people in the environment because those managers have to manage the workforce, which is going to be primarily people from that neighborhood.
Exactly. No doubt.
So
Right.
that's the same model they had when they came here.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
they were bringing people that they knew they could settle and mingle amongst the people, right?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, the models are still done now. This is how they gentrify your neighborhood. They start with a trading post. What came
Right.
first? Starbucks. You know what I'm saying? That's what came first in all our hoods. A little Starbucks popped up, and we thought it was innocent, not knowing
Hmm.
that's the beginning. So it just starts with a trading post.
Right.
So
Right.
just to say all this to bring it back, my family and many of our families, many of us who say, yeah, we got Indian and all this is where these things would have occurred. So my family is a family that would have intermixed early, right? But the children still would have been of the old way because
Right.
of the culture, right? So, but the thing is that when the tribes would have moved away, would have relocated, a lot of those families that were intermixed, would have stayed because they would have been tied to the commerce. This is why we go, yeah, all these people of color had a whole lot of land and had a whole lot of money and we was rich. Because a lot of them are a product of the first groups of people who came over here under the term slave, but back then slave didn't mean how we take it now. It just meant employee. And when their contract was over, they had the option of retirement or to re-up and sign another contract. So a lot of times what people would do is, and there's a this is also on the Montclair website. So you've heard of obviously Bedford Stuyvesant, right? You heard Biggie.
Right.
Biggie, Bedford Stuyvesant. Well,
Yeah.
Well, it's named after a general. General Bedford, General Stuyvesant.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, it's named after a man. That man employed, at one point, 8 of his soldiers retired. They retired from being soldiers, right? They entered into a new contract to set up a post. So just think they set up New Amsterdam. Now they got that. I mean, they set up New York. New York's popping. They doing trade with the Indians. So now it's like, yo, let's move further into the land, deeper into the land. So they would contract you, right, who's already probably half Indian, because this is we're already a generation in. Right. They're going to contract you to go set up a trading post deeper amongst some other Indians and start getting them in on it.
Right.
See what I'm saying? So you would, and this is how all our old towns would have begun, because of these old. So General Stuyvesant, 8 of his soldiers chose retirement. They re-upped and became what we would call settlers.
Okay.
They went into what we call Bergen County, right? And they set up trading posts in Bergen County. These trading posts end up becoming whole cities that we live in now. See what I'm saying? So when we're talking Bergen County, we're talking about Bergen County, New Jersey.
Okay.
See what I'm saying? So you can go check, and then go check see, this is what people got to do. Check into who are the founders of all these cities. Go see who found Chicago. Right. You're going to see it's a black man. And you're going to say, how's this black man got all this money back then when they're telling us it was racism and slavery? Because it's not the racism and slavery that we think. The racism and slavery that people were dealing with was more of a it's probably more of a just bondage than we can think of now. It was more contractual.
Indentured servitude.
Yeah, that's where they get the whole thing, indentured servitude thing. These are contracts of which you have to be manumitted.
Because what I've learned and seeing, they were that was for the Irish people.
It was
telling it all the wrong way. Because what you're talking about, I've heard before.
It was all over. It was. Right. That's why when they say Africans, they be like, "Oh, Africans sold themselves and sold Africans," and they'll go, "But they didn't know they was going to do that shit with them." Right. Right. That's what people say, because that chattel slavery that we know of, that Kunta Kinte shit, that was a whole different type of slavery.
Okay. Right.
That was something that the slavery that existed before those times, before the African transatlantic slave trade, was a more business-oriented trade. Because you got to remember, the people that were coming here for the Dutch company, they were contracted not to individuals who had a bad day and feels like he wants to beat his slave, or an individual who had a bad day and wants to rape one of his slaves. These were employees for companies. You go to your job tomorrow and knock something off you know what I mean? Go destroy your job's property. What you think your job gonna do? This is an investment. So when people start rethinking these things, like all that stuff that they imagine happened, which did happen much later, this stuff wasn't happening in the first 100, 200 years. Now, are there incidences that you can find where you're gonna have some crazy shit? Yes, of course. Definitely. You know what I mean? Yeah. But that doesn't make it the totality, because see, our people don't understand that there's something that's bigger than domestic law. We operate under domestic law. treaty law, international law supersedes that. Most of us have never operated under anything but domestic law, the United States law. We barely understand that. You know what I'm
Right, right,
saying?
right.
Let alone
Yeah,
understand international law, let alone understand the rights you have as a human being. The
right.
world understand that. African American black people from this country don't understand that.
You know
That-
what? And that's another question I wanted to ask you. What do you consider yourself? Would you call yourself an African American? What is your ethnicity?
All right, so my ethnicity would be, I would consider myself Lenape Cherokee.
Lenape,
That's the
Lenape Cherokee?
well, I'm a mixture of Lenape people and Cherokee people.
Okay,
Right?
got you, got you.
Now, do I have some type of African admixture? Yeah. Do I got an Irish grandmother? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Do I got
Right,
a grandmother that grew up that lives in Philly? Yeah. But I grew up in New Jersey. You feel
right,
me?
right,
So I
right.
only identify with my community, what we were told, what our history is. I identify with that. Right? I didn't nobody in my family told me I was African American. I learned that outside of the home.
Right.
Inside my home, they taught us we were Lenape.
That's
Right?
dope.
So
That's
when I
dope.
went to school and they said the Indians are dead, I'm not thinking Lenape and Indians are the same people. So when they're saying these things, I'm not even
Hmm.
necessarily reacting to it. You
Right, right,
understand?
right, right,
Because
right.
we're Lenape. Fuck the Indians. You understand? But then when they start teaching the New Jersey Indians are the Lenny Lenape, then I'm like, hold up. How we dead? See what I'm saying? But
Right.
like, we come from seen and not heard, right?
He's yes, yes. I
So
tried to ask my grandmother,
yeah, you
which was
can't.
a Chickasaw from Florida. She dropped out of school in third grade to be a nanny to the Spaniards kids, you know.
Yeah.
And when I asked her, she was like, "Ooh," I mean,
Ooh.
something
Yeah.
came out of her like, "Oh, we didn't ask our parents
Yeah.
questions like that. You know,
Nope.
we've seen and not heard, and that's a
Yep.
lot in our community." So
Yep.
yeah, what you're saying is definitely on point.
Yep. So as youngsters, like my older cousins could tell you more stories,
Right.
right? My because you gotta understand, my grandmother had, as probably did many of our grandmothers. That's why I like sharing the story because people can really relate. You know what I'm saying? But
Mm.
we're talking about a woman that was born in 1902. All right, it's my grandmother. She would have
Mom
had
was 12, 1912. Yep.
no, so she would have had 15 kids,
Right.
right?
Right.
Her older kids would have raised her younger kids, right?
Right. Yep.
Anybody know about this old family dynamic,
Everybody know about it.
right? So you have aunts that are like grandmothers, right?
Right. Right.
Right? You have a differentiation in even your aunts
Right.
generationally. So I say this to say that the older ones in my family got to hear more conversations. The younger ones, even the aunts, heard less than their older sisters. See what I'm saying?
Mm.
So different conversations that did stick, and it would kind of like the atmosphere would kind of tense up. You could feel the tension. So when certain things were brought up, like names we heard, Brotherton, different things, we hear it, little talk, but they don't talk about it. You know what I mean? Later on in life, we hear the name again. Brotherton? What's that? Go look it up. Damn, that's an Indian reservation. That
Mm.
was an Indian reservation in Jersey. Now we're like, oh shit. See what I'm saying? So for my generation and my family, it was like all the pieces were there, but nobody was putting it together. Like, grandma, why we ain't putting this puzzle together? Leave that goddamn puzzle alone. You know what I'm saying? Slap you.
Right.
Bang! Lee, don't touch that puzzle. What you mean, grandma?
Right.
See, it was
Right.
that, right?
Right.
So
Simple as that.
yeah, like because they went through so much, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, it's
And
a lot.
yeah, like it's funny you said that because My mother, she's the oldest of. They're from Florida. My mom is the oldest of 8. And I'm just finding out a lot. I already knew I was Cherokee from my father. From my grandmother, she was from Virginia, the Cherokee tribe there. And my mother's side of the family, my father is Cherokee and Irish, Cherokee, Black, and Irish. So-called Black and Irish. My mother, her mother is my grandfather on my mother's side. His wife, which is my grandmother, they're both from Florida. My grandmother is Chickasaw, and I just found out a couple of months ago that my grandfather, he's Seminole. My family told me, look up the Gullah Wars, and I looked up the Gullah Wars. I was like, wow, that was amazing, to know that was my family. And I have a picture of my grandfather's grandmother, and they come from Tobago, Trinidad. And man, I did some research in Trinidad, and those were the Arawak Tainos, So I mean, man, it goes deep. You just have to do the research or ask your parents, just do the research. This is the time of information for us, man. It's out there, and thanks to brothers like you, just bringing this out. Like, man, when I came in, as studying the Hebrew Israelite. Shout out to FOP, my brother Cornell. Shout out to him. He helped me a lot, and that's where my foundation started to really start searching. And then I came across you, and when I came across you, it just put it all together for me. And here we are now. You bringing out this truth to the people. The people need to hear this. Your story's amazing, but let me start rambling and let you keep going.
And the thing I'll say whenever somebody says something like this, because let me tell you, bro. Yeah, I think my story is like, I'm so proud, and you know what I mean.
Yeah,
but when I sit with my wife and she talk about her story, I'm like, shit. You know what I'm saying?
Really?
Like, yes. What I'm trying to tell you is when you get into your family, trust me, bro. Like, if I told you, it's not for me to tell, but my wife's people, they from New Orleans.
Oh wow!
So they got the Acadian, right, connection. They got the Taino connection. They got the Choctaw connection. They got the Maryland connection. Like, and she know, like, my genealogy. This my genealogy book. See this? That's my book. Listen.
Wow.
My wife got 6 of these 3 times as thick.
Wow.
Now, let me tell you why.
Them people, they know that they Indian down there.
Let me tell you why, though.
Good.
I'm gonna tell you why. It's because just like myself, and this is for people out there that are beginning. Just like myself, this is not what I did on my own. This is a generational thing, right? I have what I have because my ancestors, while I was in the streets, right? Somebody was keeping this alive, waiting for somebody to wake up to grab it. You know what I'm saying? So if we don't have that in our families now, we have to establish that.
That's
See what I'm saying?
Yes.
So this is a journey that even to get on your feet, it might be a 40-year journey. Unfortunately. See what I'm saying? For a lot of us. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
A lot of people want to speed the process up, but it's so much that, like I said, history is not hard. It's just a lot of simple things. It's just a whole bunch of them. See what I'm saying? That's what history is. It's not difficult to figure it out. That's why when you asked me about who I am, you see how far I ended up having to go in, and I could have went in all night just telling you who I am.
Yeah, I was about to say that's like a little piece of it, man. Your history is, man, it go deep, man. It go deep.
So that but my thing is for people like everybody's history is just as deep, and at some point, all our history is going to intersect. See what I'm
Right.
saying? And that's one thing that you'll find out. The more you learn about yourself, the more you're gonna find where you connect with others. See,
Exactly.
this ain't. It's your individual journey, but unbeknownst to you, your journey had an effect on the next man's journey. And at some point, you and your people's journey intersected with another people's journey. You know what I'm saying? And this is how
We
we
all
can,
connected.
yeah.
Yep.
And this is how we keep it real. This is how us out here, Eastern Woodlands, this is how we all know each other. Because everything real. When I tell these people in New England who I am, trust me, any one of them can go to somebody, and somebody gonna know somebody who gonna know somebody who can verify it.
That's
Like,
right.
that's it. Ain't no like from Canada to VA. Because even though we're like all these very unique, separate people, we really not. You know what I mean? Like,
And that's another thing I wanted to get into. But yeah, show me what you're talking about.
see all these names in here? Like, I don't know if I'm just scrolling through like all these pages. See
Okay.
that? These are all full of names. Let me show you.
Damn, that's
see-
your
you see
family
that?
history.
You see that?
Wow, yeah.
These are all names, right? Of
Right.
people that are my family going back like we have a 7 generational ancestor, the same man, Abraham Rock. And this is pages on pages on pages. Jackson family chart. It's family names, McGuinn. See, this is my branch of the family, Rock, in here. See what I'm
Okay.
saying? But it's branches. Now, these are people who
Wow.
live all over New Jersey. Like, these not people that are like all over the world. These people are still
That's just
primarily in the area. See what I'm saying?
that's crazy. That's
But
crazy.
this is going to be the same thing for everybody else's family.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Just,
not unique.
you gotta do the work,
Yeah, it's not unique. Everybody's going to have this type of rich history. You know
Tell
what I'm
me
saying?
this. Tell me this. Since you're over there, since your tribe over there on that side, are you guys related to anybody in like as far as Seneca Village? Because you're like right up there.
Well, see, Seneca Village was like the Seneca. Do you know where the Seneca are from?
No, I don't.
Yeah, so it's the Seneca aren't from that particular area. Seneca Village
Okay.
is all right. So Manhattan at one point was, well, still is, but the east side and the west side were separated. I
Okay.
believe the east side was the rich side. The rich people was on the east side, and the poor people on the west side, or vice versa, whichever it is. Like, I'm
Right.
not, you know what I mean? I'm not rich, so I don't know which side. I think, whichever it is, but
Right.
Central Park divided the two.
Okay.
All right. So in Central Park, you had what was remaining of these villages. Now remember, these people in New York, by that point, these people were a mixture of the Indians
Of the tribes. Okay.
and the black Europeans that came here,
Right.
and some white people probably. You know what I'm saying? So those people were Indians. They were of tribal ancestry, but they were colonial Indians. See, people have to it's certain things people got to get into their mind. Like, the reason why a lot of these other tribes have issues with us, or might say we're not this, because they have tradition, right?
Right. Right.
They
Right.
have tradition. You can't, you know what I mean? You can't tell Michael Jackson he can't dance because that dance might not have, like, that move, all that shit he did, he learned out in Cali. You remember back in the day, Mike, who'd he learn it from? The Boogaloo. Who he learned? It was a dude in Cali that Michael Jackson learned the moonwalk and a lot of his moves from.
You know what? I thought he got that from James Brown.
He went out to Cali.
And
He learned it from the dude that was in Breakin' or Beat Street. Remember the Spanish dude?
Boogaloo.
Boogaloo?
Damn, he is from Cali. He was in a lot of videos
Yeah.
in the 80s. I know who you
Yeah,
talking
Mike
about. He's
went
doing a lot of the pop locking.
Yeah, Mike went and taught. It's video. Mike went and taught him. He went out there. He taught Mike a lot of the moves.
Shout out to Mike Jackson, the whole Jackson family. That's my cousins, Blackfoot Indians.
Okay.
But yeah, go ahead.
But the point is, whether that was Mike's move or not, you can't tell Mike he ain't kill it. You can't tell Mike he ain't doing it. He did it so well as his. We don't even know this dude taught him. So that's culture. You know what I mean? Like, these people in the culture. You can say what you want about them, call them $5, call them whatever you want. They in the culture. You can't strip somebody of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but the thing with us is a lot of us we are a product of colonial times. So even, we're native, we're Indians, but we became colonized. Look at us. You know what I'm saying? Like, how can I prove it to you? We're all colonized. See what I'm saying? Like, it speaks for itself.
Right.
Whereas the families that wanted to keep the culture went out west so they could keep the culture, but they lost the land.
Well, that's still dope that you know your language. You know.
Yeah. Well, that's because we have to make it a collected effort to know our language.
Right.
See what I'm saying?
I just started studying Cherokee.
And what's crazy is, like, as we're doing this thinking that when we encounter all these other ones who got their reservations and they think that when we encounter them, you know, they're gonna be come to find out half of them don't speak the language.
You know what? Let's jump into this. Let me jump over a couple of questions, piggybacking off of what you said. When it comes to saying, okay, it's funny. A lot of black people say, "Oh, I'm mixed with Native American." Well, you are the Native American. And if you could just do a breakdown so people can understand, because I feel like I was giving misinformation out, just being ignorant, not knowing. But can you please break down the difference between us and what would you say, Mongoloid?
All right, so I know this is probably this not going to be, like, I'm probably going to lose half the people I've been working to try and connect with. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? You're just about to sink my ship.
That question,
no. But no, it needs to be dealt with, and I don't got no problem with it. All right, so we have to understand when we being racist. And we not even wise enough to know we being racist. The same way that when Biggie came out, I love it when you we knew what that was, don't you? I only have to tell you what song that came from, right? What song that came from?
Right.
What song that came from?
Do it again.
Juicy?
I'm thinking in my head like, man, you ain't got to go down this route, brother.
Yeah. I'm fine with my age. But as soon as it came out, like, I grew up carrying crates for my cousin who's a DJ.
No, okay.
So I know music.
Right.
We knew that was M2 Man, right?
Right.
The whole Biggie song. I love it when you go. You know what I mean? That's an old R&B song, right?
Yeah.
We know when we hear new music. As soon as we hear it, we know.
Yeah, I mean, that's why it was so big. It was bringing it back out, you know?
Yes. So the thing is, when people are saying certain things, as an older head, I've already heard many of these conversations, these arguments.
Right.
So the same way I can hear this new music and hear the old song it come from and be like, oh, that's just such and such. It's the same shit when people be saying these things, right? So the issue about are the real Indians Negro or black is all based on European records, right? None of this is based on if you I remember I asked a person in my tribe before. I said, was there any Negroes in our tribe? And they was like, no, we ain't had no Negroes in the tribe. And that shit just fucked me up. Right. I'm like, damn. I'm clearly a Negro. And I'm clearly a member of this tribe, and you're saying there's no Negroes in the tribe. I'm fucked up in the head.
What part of the game is that?
Know what it is? Because Negro don't define us. And we don't allow others to define us. So to say there's a Negro in the tribe is to give jurisdiction to their classifications.
To their narrative of who
Yeah, to their narrative. So
Right.
I don't realize this. So when this man is telling me there's no Negroes in the tribe, I'm taking it personal because I still haven't purged myself from the European psyche.
Right.
So now I'm insulted because he said something to me that one day I'm going to understand. See what I'm saying? And I think a lot of, so when we talk about, are we the original? I think us needing to be the original anything comes from the trauma and psyche that we encountered from being disenfranchised.
Yeah, from our name stripped from us, from our language, all of that. Because
so now,
and I see where you're going. We really together.
Yeah.
We need to kind of get that out of our mind.
Yeah, and then we overcompensate.
Exactly.
It's like any injury, bro. What do they tell you? If you hurt your knee, right, at some point, your probably ankle gonna get fucked up. Because if you come back too quick, you ain't gonna be healed properly, and you're gonna be compensating. And now your knee, which was hurt, pardon me, end up now your hip go bad. Because unbeknownst to you, you're walking a certain way to compensate for the injury that you didn't really deal with. So now just think, we're dealing with all types of psychological trauma, and we haven't dealt with none of it. You know what I mean? A lot of times we deal with, how they say, you know, you got the bull and the cow, right? A storm coming, the bull run to the storm. The cow run from the storm. So the bull run into the storm, get to the center of the storm, and it's just over, just like that. The cow run from the storm. You could run from that storm for 20 years. Now you think it's personal. The bull ran into the storm and realized this ain't about me. It's just the storm being a storm. Right?
Right.
But when you running from the storm, now you think this storm is chasing me. And you start taking it personal. See what I'm saying? Our people is running from our storms. We're not dealing with our trauma. We got to run into that shit so we can get through this shit. Then when we get through this shit, we're not going to feel the need to take everybody's culture and make it ours. Oh, these niggas built pyramids. Must be us. You know what I'm saying? These people say, said, Yah. I heard them say, hey, Yah. They must be Hebrews. It must be us. See what I'm saying? That's what everybody want to do because they don't know who they are.
Who they are. Yeah, we've been paper genocide.
Yeah, you know? So we got to realize we dealing with trauma. Stop overreacting. You know what I'm saying? How they say you help a man who just got knocked out. Be careful helping him up. He's swinging.
Right.
Because he's just coming to his senses. He's swinging at the first person he's seen. See what I'm saying? So this is all the shit we doing to each other. You know what I mean?
Real. I'm glad you said that, man. That's some real shit right there.
It's psychological trauma. And what's crazy is, and this is what's even, bro, the psychological trauma within our families surrounding what happened to us, along with just the fact that we came through the crack era, civil rights. We came through all this shit, bro.
All that shit. Yeah.
All this shit, bro. Like, we got some healing to do. You know what I mean? So a lot of times what I see with people trying to come into the indigenous paradigm, like, you got to heal first. Because all you're going to do is you're supposed to wipe your shoes off before you enter a man's house. So you don't bring that dirt from outside in. So we not wiping our feet off. We not doing none of these things. And we want to enter into this other home. Right. You know what I'm saying? And we bring in all the shit we trying to get away from, we bring in with us. You know what I mean?
Yo, that's some real shit right there.
this history important, but you got to know the history so you know the trauma, so you know what really exists within you. It ain't like you're going to find some great things your people did, but you're going to find some shit that your people running from. And like I said, you can't run from the storm. You got to run into that shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to give you an example, bro. My cousin told me, I'm young, right? She was like, yeah, they used to call me Nana. Yeah, Nana, we cursed. What you mean we cursed? We cursed as a family. What you mean? Like, shit ain't never going to go right for us because we cursed. I don't understand what you mean, cousin. You know what I mean? Oh, we have family members that hunted runaway slaves. Some of our family members own slaves. You know what I'm saying? Now this late 70s, I'm hearing this shit. Roots just hit. You know what I'm saying? My mind like, damn. Right? Now this is my cousin. She older than me, but she not much older. She 17, 18.
You
know
said in the late 70s?
Yeah.
Brother, that's funny because you look like you was born in the 80s. Go
1970.
ahead.
It's like 78, 79. And my cousin's
Right.
saying these things to me, and I'm wondering, you know what I mean? Because like I could get into so many chambers of my family's life where it's like, hold up, something ain't right. What the fuck is going on? You know what I mean? It just ain't, something ain't matching up. See what I'm saying? But all it had to do with, you know, who my family was and the contributions we made historically, you know what I mean? Just, you know, shit going on. Like when they talk about counterintelligence, that shit real, bro. That shit real.
Right.
Tell real,
Right.
my nigga. Feel me?
Right.
So, and it ain't just Martin Luther King's and people that they was watching. You know what I'm saying? It's real. It's people that was in your family.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like that shit real, bro. So, you know, we all over the place with it. Pardon me, but I just feel like we gotta clean up a lot. We gotta get right. My cousin tells me we got a curse. I don't know how to take it. Come to find out, what she's saying to me that she can't articulate at the time is that, yeah, our family, at one point, we would have, what they would say, owned slaves. We had somebody who also hunted runaway slaves. You know what I'm saying? And he would get land in return. So this speaks to why it was certain land that my family didn't want to fuck with. Like, we'll never touch that land. That's blood land. We don't care what
Right.
happened to it. So
Right,
this answers that question. Why this land just sitting there? See what I'm saying? So these are all things that you hear one year and you might not get the answer till 6, 7 years later. You know what I mean? So turns out, why did we own what you would call slaves? Because when the English took over, they enforced your English law. And English law says that any of your workers on large farms have to be employed via the Morris Company, right?
Right.
Who owned slaves. So you had to employ motherfuckers that the Morris family owned. Wasn't like they was just slaves. You had a contract with the Morris family, Philip Morris. We all know who Philip Morris is.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Same motherfucker became the cigarette nigga.
Right.
what I'm saying?
Right.
So you had to get your workers from them. So they didn't live on your thing. You weren't responsible for them, but they came to work every day.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And they would have lived wherever they lived, because it wasn't how we think now. It's kind of like a union. See what I'm saying? So the Morris family had it on lock. So any business going down on any farms, we get money on it. How we getting money? Because you got to employ our people,
Right.
who are slaves that we own.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying? So, but you got to learn these things. See what I'm saying? Because it's not as simple as we cursed because we own slaves. Well, if we didn't go through the process of English law says, they'd have took our farms. You know what I mean? And maybe that speaks to why we had other villages and farms burnt down. See what I'm saying? Maybe we did tell them no before. You know what I mean? And they burnt our shit down. So this time around, we like, nah, bring them. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is why I say history is a lot of simple things, but it's a bunch of them. Like, it's very easy to understand that if I explain it to you, right? But if you just read it in the book, it says Peter Rock's farm employed 300 berry pickers who were indentured from Barbados. So just reading that, it says this nigga owns slaves. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, and you know what? That's what I was like. I got this big old tattoo of a Cherokee on my chest. Once I started learning more about the Cherokee, I'm like,
Oh,
man,
shit.
okay. We have a tobacco farm still to this day in North Carolina. You know, and it's like, man, once I found out a lot of Cherokee was catching the runaway slaves, I was like, oh damn, what I didn't put on my chest. But you know, it's my family, so I was a little bit scared of trying to find out more information because I didn't want to hear no shit like that. But we got to do our research, and we got to find this out for our generation to pass it down to our kids. You know, they need to know who they are.
And I say this to people. No Native Americans ever owned slaves. No indigenous, traditional Native Americans ever owned slaves. Colonial Indians absolutely owned slaves.
Right, there you go. There you go.
Okay?
You said it right. You said it
So
perfect.
you're talking about people who entered into a political situation, were dealing with economics, and were in business with the United States. Right? So whether they wanted to own slaves or not, they had to. Right? Just
okay.
ended it like
that's very important what you just said.
Yeah. So, and you can check just like this. You got a business, you try to pay your employees $7 an hour right now. What will happen?
Oh, it's going to be a problem with them.
Who's coming?
It's going to be a problem.
The United States is coming to shut you down because they got a minimum wage law in place.
Yep.
So it would have been the same thing if these states said, in order to do business in our state, this is how we do business in the state. Then if that's where you at, and remember all these, this is people, y'all can't have it both ways. Y'all can't say $5 Indians did this and did that, and then hold us accountable for what $5 Indians did. You know what I'm saying? All these people, all these Indians, the majority of these Cherokee that we speak about and these Choctaw that we speak about are the 5 civilized tribes. They are the Cherokee and Choctaw. They're a percentage of those nations, a small percentage of those nations who agreed to terms with the Continental Army, the United States, and worked with them.
And that's a small percentage, not the whole damn
not
tribe,
the whole
what
thing.
people think. Exactly.
Yes. So when you say Cherokee owned slaves, that's just like saying Americans own slaves. That's just like that's like saying the United States went to Vietnam because they wanted to kill people of color.
Like a blanket statement. Yeah.
When nigga, I went because I got enlisted and I ain't had no choice. See what I'm saying? You wasn't there because that's what you wanted to do. There you go.
Perfect analogy. Yep.
Why are people like, this is what I mean by sensationalism and that pain shit. That pain wants you to go like, like, bro, Pop Warner. We go out there, team beat us 35-0. Nigga, when we come back, we want to beat them 70-0. 36-35 is not going to be good enough. You know what I'm saying? Getting a win is not going to be good enough. We got to go over the top with everything. So that's what, this comes back. These are long answers to simple questions, bro, but I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how this shit is. It ain't no simple nothing. Like, our problem is we overcompensate for the things we lack.
That's right.
You can see it in our fashion, the way men are with women. You know what I'm saying? The way women are with attention.
We overcompensate. Hell yeah.
Everything we lack, bro. So if we've been lacking the respect of everybody, now we gotta go tell these nigga, that shit you got, I gave you. You took it from me. You only got it because of me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? No matter what it is. Like chitlins, that was mine. Like, nigga, you can keep that. You know what I'm saying? That was ours. No, you can keep that shit. Like, scalping, that wasn't us. Indians didn't scalp. Europeans did that. We just did it better than them. So they outlawed it. See what I'm saying? But that was their way of collecting bounties.
Okay, I never knew that.
Who was we scalping and getting money for? Europeans, it was that was part of the thing. If you came back with an Indian, that shit was worth money. Like a deer's tail, that's a buckskin. It's worth $1. So the tail of a deer, that was worth $1. That's where we get the concept of buck. I got $1 for. I got money. You know what I mean? Come from that. Like all these is, you know what I'm saying?
I heard that. That's what's up, man. So let me see. So what kind of activist work you got going on? Because I see you doing a lot of stuff, man. What you got pretty much going on? Let us know about what's coming in the future from Turtle Gang.
Okay, so just historically, I've always been involved in like let's just say, in the hip hop community, just,
I see
giving,
you in them pictures. I
yeah,
see you in them pictures. Yeah.
just, just giving back in the form of, doing things for the public. A lot of my good friends are, people who would have been considered 80s and 90s hip hop artists, and they're at the point in their careers where they're giving back to their communities. So, you know, I was a part of, I moved around with people who are doing a lot of things to give back to their community. So that allowed me to get close to doing, community services for different people, outreach programs. In terms of Turtle Gang, I used a lot of the connections I made via my hip hop, running around in the hip hop world. I used a lot of those connections to kind of parlay a little bit of a position, amongst those people to where I could, you know, get jobs, be able to, employ myself, which allowed me to concentrate on doing the other things. You know what I mean? So my journey has always been kind of a blend between mainstream, which would be the hip hop world, dealing with, supporting people who are dealing with issues in our hood, police brutality. Like that's the mainstream side that we all, like that's the experience we all go through, the African American experience. That's the black experience. I can't ignore that. You know what I'm saying? But that experience does not reflect on this other experience I have. Right? It's like we really have enough people that speak for us in terms of what's going on in our communities. You know what I'm saying? We do have a lot of activists in our communities. If you really actually get involved in your community, you're going to see it's a bunch of people out there trying to make good things happen in that community.
Oh,
But
I seen you in them pictures in the streets,
yeah,
man. I watched your videos. You out there
yeah. I
in
mean,
them streets.
we pride ourselves in being a part of, putting ourselves out there. But at the same time, I'm learning all these things running around with people like Hakeem and Do It All, who's now a councilman in Newark, New Jersey. Like these are hip hop artists who now have graduated into politics and they're really trying to do things for their communities. You
Shout
know what I'm
out to
saying?
Arnie. Right.
So I got to watch how they moved and said, damn, I can apply this to our communities. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I can start getting some of these people to pay a little attention to what's going on in these communities. And when these people see that the people in these communities look just like them, what's it going to do to them? You know what I mean? Like, so that was kind of my journey for a while, trying to bleed the two together to try to help bring a voice to the indigenous communities. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I started from. My company is Turtlegang Edutainment. Started off Turtlegang Entertainment, but Turtle Gang was working with KRS-One. And KRS said you should change your company to Edutainment and ride this hip hop wave. That way you can get into schools. And then you can blend your message with the whole hip hop movement. So now the same way they're getting into schools talking about hip hop, I can get into schools talking about indigenous culture
Yeah.
and how it is an extension of hip hop. So I've been developing what would be a curriculum different than what the hip hop curriculums are that, people talk about the five, hip hop with 5 elements and when it came into birth, they'll tell you this and that. I've developed a curriculum, I've developed something that shows you hip hop in its indigenous roots. So now we don't have to talk about was hip hop created in the Bronx and people all over the world in different places feel ostracized. Now I can say all these elements that come of hip hop come from all over the world.
That's right.
You're going to see your moves, all of it. You're going to see the essays in Cali, they dances in hip hop. You know what I mean? You're gonna see all these different things. You know what I mean?
Crip walking and blood walking.
All that.
That's hey, they doing what their ancestors was
Yes.
doing. They just
So,
named it something else.
yep. So the point is, if we can show that the roots are an indigenous culture, we all can feel good about that and have a piece of that, right?
That's dope. Yeah.
Now, the
yeah.
stage it came together in may have been the Bronx, right? That might have been the bowl that all these ingredients got put in, but it's Yo, if you brought an ingredient from South America and threw it in the pot, you were part of that,
No
right?
doubt.
And
No
it don't
doubt.
matter where it got whipped up. You were part of that. So this
Right.
is like the approach I like to take with indigenous culture, with hip hop, because hip hop is our gateway. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
right. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. And if you could, can you break down a powwow for the people that don't know? Have you ever been to one?
Yeah.
Uh, can you let us know about that part of the culture?
Okay, so the powwow is actually that comes from Two Hawks, right? That's his people.
Two Hawks. Yeah.
Yeah, the powwow is, I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but he's the actual medicine man.
Two Hawks. That was a brother on your show, right?
Yeah, he's the
Okay.
chief of the Narragansett in Rhode
Shout
Island.
out to Two
Yeah,
Hawks.
he's the chief
No
of the
doubt.
Narragansett in Rhode Island, and he tells us better because this is his people. So I'm just going to touch on it a little bit, but I'll
Okay.
have
Yeah. Just a little
I'll
bit.
reach out to him and you can have him on your show. He's definitely somebody people need to hear from. But
Appreciate
anyway,
that, King.
the powwow is the actual medicine man who runs what we actually call them were stomps,
Okay.
right? The commercial version is the powwow, right? But what a stomp was, like any other of our gatherings, is just we come together to celebrate each other, do ceremony. It's for lack of a better word, it serves the same purpose as any one of our family gatherings would. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You're gonna have the elders that are gonna sit down and talk real business. You're gonna have the kids doing their thing, but it's just a gathering of the people that you deal with different ceremonies, different times of the seasons, different medicines are involved. It's not like the ceremonies are what makes it. Uh, You know what I mean? Like some powwows are just you just come there and there's vending. See, for most people, you'll come to a powwow now, a commercial one, and it's just vending, and they'll have like the dance
Some indigenous dancing. Yeah.
dance contest. You know what I mean? The raffle for that. You know what I mean? You'll have get to see the kids dance. You know what I mean? But at night when everybody leaves, that's what really would be going on. See what I'm saying? This is when the ceremonies take place, the fires are maintained, you know what I mean? Different things are going on that would be a part of our traditional culture. You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Right.
So a powwow really is for economics, but what happens after everybody leaves is more indicative of what it is. Because now it's like, see, like powwows, if you notice when you go to a powwow, you'll see things are set up a certain way. It's to mimic a village. All right. So when everybody leaves,
That's dope.
everybody stays. We all stay. The Indians would stay. So it's like you got a weekend in one of your ancient villages. You wake up in the morning, you're cooking, you get up and you just smell the food. You know what I mean? You go out and it's old Miss Such and Such over there cooking, like cooking off the open fire. See what I'm saying? So for a lot of it's like two different things. So for the public, it's a place for people to come learn about the culture, do some trade, do some, you know what I mean? For the vendors, they make money, this and that. But for the actual people who are kind of throwing it, it's a whole nother experience. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? It's more of a
Right.
traditional family experience that takes place overnight.
Right. Right. That's dope. That's dope. Um. So here, let me see real quick. Oh yeah, for people that want to find out, see if they're Native American or they have any tribes, because I know it's hard because when you go and look back in the records, it says Negro,
Hmm.
Black, mulatto. You know, can you give people advice on how to maybe where to go to try to find out their tribal name? 'Cause it's so difficult because we've been paper genocide.
Yeah.
So is there a certain way of looking this up if you can't go to your family and ask them if you're just doing this alone, or someone could have been adopted? You want to go
Yeah.
back to look up their family and see, do you have any advice on where to guide them to look?
Yeah. Now, in terms of people who are adopted, like um that's a difficult one. I have people,
Yeah,
I know people who are adopted and found out who they come from and actually were able to repatriate back into the tribe. You know what I
that's
mean?
a blessing
So
right
it
there.
it has happened, but that's just like a miracle thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So so I got a preference. I like to preference as many of these answers with this. When moving into these spaces, you have to be honest with yourself and ask yourself, what is it you're really looking for? You know what I'm saying? Because all that paperwork is important if you're trying to get a check. See what I'm saying? If
Right.
you're not trying to get a check and you feel like that's the spirit you want to move in, then the way you're researching is going to be different. You might not
Yeah.
hold yourself to such strict standards, right? But if you're absolutely trying, if your motivation is to get back into an existing tribe, right, you're going to have to find certain levels of, their criteria depends on each tribe. So you'd have to look into whatever tribe that you're trying to tie yourself back into. You got to figure out what they want to know, and then you just start working off of their blueprint, right?
Right.
That would answer for me. That would be the easiest step. Go see what tribe you think you're from, and see what their requirements are, and use that as the blueprint. But if you're just searching to find out who you are, my suggestion is obviously go the ancestry.com route. I don't. I think like if I had to do it, I would just hire the best genealogists I could, and I wouldn't argue with them over the terminology and what they found. Just go
That's
find
what
it.
I was thinking about doing. Like
Yeah,
I have a little bit of information that they could just run with.
yeah,
That's real shit.
yeah.
Don't
Do it.
argue with them. Let them do their thing.
Yeah, get as far as you can, right? And then turn it over to somebody who can really peel that shit back. And it's not for them to come to you and say, well, it says Negro here, but I think you was Indian. They don't care about that shit. They just gonna hand you the paperwork.
Yeah.
Then once you get the paperwork, you can now start looking to see, okay, it says I had an ancestor that was in this place at this time. Let me find out what was going on in this place at that time. And now study that place at that time for the whole year span. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Because like I've had genealogists say things like, "Go get like if you've lost your way, let's say it's 1870, you lost your way. You like I hit a brick wall. Wherever you hit that brick wall at, you go and get a newspaper from every month of that year, and you scroll through the newspaper to see if anything jumps out, to see if anything happened. See what I'm saying? That could have created this wall. You know what I'm saying? You might find out a whole village got raided. You might find out, you know what I'm saying? Who knows? But these are the things you have to do. Like a lot of people are searching and they're just looking like this. When more information is going to be peripheral.
Right.
It's not going to be in front of you. You're going to have to figure this out to figure out what that means to see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's almost like you got to go slow and make sure you're digesting everything. And even when you think you're at, like, I can't go no further, it just means you got to just look in a different direction. You know what I'm saying? Like, but for me, I just say, I think if you can get in a genealogist and that genealogist can get you back to a certain period of time, you can connect events that happen in these regions, in these specific areas. To see how I said this, like, look, this is how it happens, bro. I had this book for years, bro. My family, the dude that put this book together, put it together in 2002. And he had been doing the research for years before. So this book
See,
been around.
that is wonderful to have that. I encourage all of you to do what he did and start right now. You know, luckily he had another family member started before him, and he can elaborate more on
And then
that.
we can we add on to it. All
Yeah, that's
all it is
beautiful.
it's public records, copies of public records and documents, right?
That's a thick book, son.
all this stuff, it just identifies what roles our people played in the communities they were in, what contributions they made. It validates it via the the public documentation and all that. Like, scour the internet, and anything that's connected to your family, download it. This is a book. This is something I put together in 2004. So this side of my family is the Rock side, right? This side is the Richardson side. So this is the Lenape side, who also has Cherokee ancestry, but this is the Lenape side. This is the Cherokee side.
Wow.
See, so now in here, I downloaded every article that appears online about my family, even if some of them are duplicate articles. I downloaded all of them. I put them in chronological order. You know what I'm saying? So now I have a framework of what happened with my Cherokee family from the moment they entered into New Jersey in 1711. See what I'm saying? And that's what, and then this, so as I'm reading through all this, certain things that I had learned before now start to become, oh, I get it now. So you see, in this book it says the first rock entered into Monmouth County in 1664, a servant on an Englishman's sea vessel, right? So I'm like, hold up. If we Lenape, how is this nigga entering into the territory? See what I'm saying? I'm trying to figure this shit out. Like, what the fuck is going on? Hold up, right? I'm not getting it, right? So I shied away from it for a while. I'm like, well, we got all this other stuff. We know who our grandmothers are and this and that, but this is going back to the oldest documentation, right?
Right.
So I'm not thinking about nothing. And then years later, I'm studying something, and I'm like, oh, the Dutch lost New Amsterdam in 1664. Hold up, that date sounds familiar. So now I race back to my book. Oh, the first rock entered Monmouth County in 1665 on the ship of an Englishman's vessel.
Monmouth County is where?
Monmouth County is directly across the water from New York.
Okay.
So where I'm at, if we go out to the beach, Sandy Hook, that's the beach. That's the beach. Like, all right, you know how Jersey is, and you see it's like a man, and it's the back of the head, then it's that shoulder. Monmouth County is the neck.
Right across from there
is the neck.
Oh, okay.
See what I'm saying? So Monmouth County is, we call it the Raritan Bay, right? Staten Island sits in the middle of it. New York calls it Manhattan calls it the Hudson Bay, and Brooklyn calls it the Brooklyn Bay. But it's one body of water.
Right, okay.
So on one side of the water is Brooklyn, to the left is is Manhattan. In the middle of it is Staten Island, and then on the southern part is what would be Monmouth County. See what I'm saying? So like a canoe ride would be like 20 minutes to the city.
Right.
Feel me? Like that's like 10 minutes from Staten Island. See what I'm saying? So this is why I say that I was able to put it together when I looked at the dates. I'm like, oh, so he came into Monmouth County in 1664, and the first very land deed was a bunch of Englishmen. So I go to the land deeds, right? The first 18 Europeans that bought land from the Indians happened in Monmouth County. So the first North American land transferred or Europeans given actual permission to settle, not create a trade post, but actually settle. It's a difference, okay? Letting a company create a store is different than letting somebody move in. See what I'm saying? So the first ones who were allowed to settle in the area, this is the ship my grandfather was on. One of my grandfathers was on. He was a part of that. I wouldn't have known that if I didn't put the two different, see what I'm saying? So at a point when you get stuck, you never know when a piece of information that you already have becomes relevant.
Right.
You just don't have enough of the pieces for it to all make sense. See what I'm saying? So it's a lot of times it's like I'm stuck, but you might get the other part of that answer a year later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you didn't stop looking, you just went in a different direction.
You know, that's crazy you said that, because I traced my family back to 1752. And one of my great grandfathers, you know, he worked on a ship to where the Dutch, you know, he worked on that ship.
Yeah.
You know, didn't say slave or nothing. That's one thing. That's one thing. Looking through these records, you know, I've seen records to where it said slave or African, and in my records it doesn't say none of that. It's just B, Negro, mulatto, and then 1772 he worked on this ship to where the a Dutch ship. It said his occupation. You know, it says how many people are in that household. You know, so yeah, man, that's crazy.
What I have here is it's the census. So this is the instructions that they would give the census takers, right? Dealing with Native American slavery. Like these are all dealing with different instructions, right? On how they the enumerator, how he takes the vote. So this is like another little book I put together for myself. So whenever I need to have these conversations, I can go right to it, and I have everything right with me. You know what I'm saying? The first slave ships that came in, you know what I mean? All the numbers. I got everything right here. Look, I got my stats, African slave trade with the stats. You know what I'm saying? The locations they went to, where they came from. Like
we're gonna have to get into all that as much as you want to get into.
They got all this information, right?
Right.
All of it. Look.
That's crazy.
Right? Census, race. So this talks about the instructions they gave the people, the enumerators, right? So this brings me to say that when you look at a lot of old censuses, right, you're going to see that even some of the slaves, they were recorded as like objects. You know what I'm saying? Like the same way you would say a rake. You know what I mean? Like they were recorded under the function that they served.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So this whole class of but you're not going to really find African nowhere. See what I'm saying? You're going to find all these other terms. Rarely would you find African.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And why would you if slavery is illegal? You know what I'm saying? Why are they going to write African if this shit is illegal? See what I'm saying? like it's a whole lot of shit going on, but yeah, I think that the majority of the people, when they really do some responsible research, they're going to find out that, yeah, you're the Indian, but it's a lot. You ain't just the Indian. It's a lot in you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And to take the position that you're the real Indian, that's just a part of the psychosis and the PTSD that we suffer from. That's it.
Just get rid of that shit. You Indian, that's it.
Yeah, you don't have to do I'm the real Indian. Because your grandmother's like, listen, I have cousins whose father was white. My grandmother did not look at my darker cousins and say, those my real grandchildren. These ones ain't. Y'all my grandchildren, but y'all not the original grandchildren. Nobody's doing that shit, bro. That's
real shit, people. Man. Real shit. I like that.
That's hurt people, but you got to understand the pain. You know what I mean? But this is the thing. Hurt people act like because you don't respond to pain the way they do that you not hurt. You feel me? Maybe I just not as weak as you, bro. You feel me?
Yep.
And that's the problem. Because I don't scream my pain like y'all scream y'all pain, they think I'm not in pain with y'all. Oh, you ain't, nigga, what you mean? Everything you went through, my people went through. Just because I'm telling you now I'm an Indian. Ask the people I grew up with if they thought I was an Indian. And then ask them if I went through the same shit every nigga went through. Right?
Real shit.
Because they went through it with me. My high school, we got into race riots every year. Us against the heavy metal skinheads. Niggas getting thrown through plate glass windows, all types of shit. Real straight up brawls.
Right.
Every year, race, we call it, race rides. We're gonna have a race ride this year. It was like niggas you was cool with all year. You knew on that day I got to punch you in your face, bro. You know what I
Right.
mean? It was that. So
Right.
I'm just saying that we went through everything everybody else went through. Why do people think because all of a sudden we say we Indians that we removing ourselves from the African American or the black experience? That shit don't remove you.
I can't stand that, man. Yeah, speak on that, brother.
Yeah,
Speak on that.
it doesn't change our experiences. It doesn't change nothing. Like we went through it. Like our Indian ancestors went through it just as much as our African ancestors went through it.
That's
You know
right.
what I'm saying? And it's the same thing. And y'all can't keep sitting up here hiding behind all these like the same thing that people are using to justify their behavior. They're also acting like they didn't just say that. Like you just said that they changed our identity to Negro, right? Like you literally just said that.
Yeah.
Now you want to act like this shit didn't happen.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like when you choose, you want to act like the shit that, like that's how we play these weird little games back and forth. Like a nigga will say to you, "Oh, you think you Indian? Yeah. Well, who's this?" A nigga want to know everything about you because you said you think you Indian. But then you ask him the same questions, and he don't feel like he should be held accountable for that same thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like it's like with the whole when we was first engaging the Pan-African, African, they say, you tell them you're Indian, they be like, who your Indian grandmother? Like, ain't nobody ever said to you who your African grandmother. You know what I'm saying? Nobody ever held y'all to that standard.
Yo, that shit is crazy
Right?
when you really think about
Yeah.
what just came out of your mouth. That's some crazy shit.
Nobody holds, like, if we go into a store somewhere and they say to you, what are you? You say African American. Nobody's going to say, show me your African American grandmother. They're going to go, okay. You know what I'm saying? If you say you're any of these things, but as soon as you say you're something that is actually a human, that actually has some type of thing, motherfucker wants you to prove it, bro. They want you to prove it.
Shit.
Like if
That's
you
some
ain't,
crazy
if you're
shit.
not saying we'll take the African shit, right? Because in the mind of the average American, African alludes to slavery and all that shit, right? But if you don't cop to that, motherfuckers want IDs. I'm like, damn, nigga, I'm not. What am I? Is this the club? Am I trying to get a drink? You just asked me what I was. You didn't ask me if I wanted a drink. You know what I'm saying? Like, why are you carding me because I said who I am? You know what I mean? But that's more the psychological, trauma that we've been through.
Say PTSD.
Yeah, bro. Bro, we've been through
real.
war. Shit is real. On top of the fact that, on top of all that shit, now we about 30 years deep into niggas in the hood getting killed on a regular basis. You know what I'm saying? 30, 40 years deep into that. On top of all that other shit. Yeah, bro.
Shit crazy, right?
Yeah, we need medicine. We need good medicine. Any medicine that is built on hate ain't gonna serve you. I'm sorry, like
real shit. Now, how you feel about the Hebrew Israelite movement with our people? Have you ever had encounters like, oh man, you ain't man, you a Hebrew Israelite from the tribe of Judah? Like, have you ever had encounters with my brothers, with our brothers, I should say?
So
how that turn out for you?
So yeah, it's real funny because this activity that the Hebrew Israelites right now, like on the East, when we was coming up, I came up 5% God body. Okay. We made it a point to get at them niggas. Like we would be like, we going to the city now. We going to the city today, God, to go fuck with these Hebrews. Right? So listen, they used to be out there demonstrating with the swords. I don't know if anybody remember, but back in the 80s and 90s, they'd be out there with the scimitar swords and all that. Like it was way more aggressive than it is now. Everything was back then. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I remember my brother was on he was on what was it? I want to say Donahue.
Yeah.
Back then.
Probably had the sword with him. Probably had the sword with him on Donahue.
Right. I know what you're talking about,
Yeah,
King.
the
Yeah,
scimitar. Yeah,
bring that shit out.
yeah, yeah. They used to bring it out. So we used to make it a point to go up there and steel sharpen steel. Like, oh God, you think you nice? All right, we're gonna take you up here, see if you can fuck with the Hebrews. Because the Hebrews sharp. Nigga can say
Right.
what they want. Hebrews be sharp. You
They
what
know
I'm saying?
that Bible.
They know that
They
Bible.
know they shit.
Yeah, they know they shit. So, every now and then a nigga get his stripe, we take him up to the city and let him get at these Hebrews. We go 30 deep, so it ain't like it's, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
full respect. So that's like kind of when I come through with the Hebrews, kind of like scary looking dudes, real menacing, aggressive, you know what I mean? All that real intimidating to people. But they sharp with that book. And bro, I've never seen any organization outside of the Nation of Islam change men and take them off that street and get them right. And for that, I got nothing but respect for them.
That's
Like,
right.
I take the little weird shit that come with it to see the change that they make in men. See what I'm saying?
Right.
That's
Hey,
more.
that's real. That's
that's
real.
more
That's where my
important.
foundation had started.
Yeah.
To really get into this, to really get into our culture and to really dig deep to find out who we are. Shout out to the Hebrew
Yeah.
Israelite.
Shout out to the
Shout out
Hebrew
to
Israelites.
Sonetta,
Shalom.
Gorilla Hebrew, ISUPK, Captain Katasai, my man. Shout out to him, FOPE.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tazariak, he the truth.
Tazariak, man.
I like Tazariak. He from Jersey. I like the energy. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah. Brick City.
I don't agree with everything everybody say, but I fuck with energy. I could tell
Yeah.
when people's energy is the truth. See what I'm
Right.
saying? It ain't for me to say you right or wrong, but I can tell when energy is in the right place. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Just
Hashar,
man.
that's my dude too. Hashar.
Char's he a wild boy, man.
Whew.
I like him though. I love watching that cat, man. I like
Yeah.
him. He a good dude, man.
Yeah, Hashar, he the truth, bro. I respect
Right.
Hashar. It's the energy, bro. I like sharp wolves. If you a wolf but you sharp, that's what I like. I like wolves with sharp teeth, bro. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So
And when you say that, you remind me of his name came to my head, Shaka Utmost.
Shaka Utmost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Shaka.
He's I already know, man. He said,
I know these people, bro. Like not intimately, but I be on the same block as these niggas. I got videos with these niggas. You know what I mean? Like I'm not speaking.
Right.
I'm not speaking from a. That's why I'm not gonna say everything. It ain't for me. My opinion ain't for everybody. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I respect what these people is doing, and I'm always aware that we coming from a place of trauma, bro. I'm always like I don't never. You know what I'm saying? I be trying to be compassionate, not like feeling sorry for people, not that, but just knowing that motherfuckers been through shit, bro. You know what I mean?
You know what? With that being said, I'm gonna go there, man. I'm gonna ask the question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna ask the question. What's up with you and Dane Calloway?
Funny thing about Dane, let me just say this.
Hold on, wait a minute. Before you say anything, I know what's going on lightweight a little bit, but I want the viewers to know, you guys are intelligent brothers, but I want you to tell the people what's going on, man. What's really going down?
All right, so before I get into that, like I said, I'm always long-winded, but I be wanting to just.
You can be long-winded. Yeah. Mikasa Tsukasa.
But I want people to understand where I'm coming from, right? Because, I'm not proud of all my demonstrations. You know what I'm saying? I've, you know what I'm saying? Popped my shit a little bit at times. But my thing with Dane Calloway is, man, bless the brother. He eating. He doing well. I don't ever want to be somebody that's trying to fuck a nigga meal up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm the type of
I want to hear from. Because we talk behind the scenes. Yeah. And I want people to know what you just said. That's what it is,
Now, this is the type of dude I am. I don't want to fuck your meal up, but if you overeat yourself, I won't give a fuck. You know what I mean? If you eat yourself to death because you fucking overindulging, I'm not going to stop you either. But I'm not going to stop you from eating. You feel me? Like, I don't want to do that. So, my thing with Dane Calloway and what my position has been the whole time, because people have to understand that This man said he came into the knowledge in 2015, right? I know as an individual that's been on this earth 52 years, it's certain ranges of information. Like, bro, you can't plant a seed and that shit come to harvest before it's time. You feel me? You can't do that, right? So when we talking about you started learning about things in 2015, like unless you're some type of child prodigy that has mastered its emotions and all these things and you're this Christ-like figure, that little bit of time is not enough to grow with this information and be mature. Let me tell you something. I cannot sit through that first video that everybody says, oh, you was dropping. I watched that video. I'm like, oh, take this shit offline. Yeah, bro, because I'm embarrassed with my behavior. People don't know I was drunk that day. We was at a festival. I got 5 nutcrackers in me. Rich pulled me to the side, and that happens. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is, it's things I said then that I wish I could have said differently and took back. Right? Because it takes time to mature with this information, just like anything, bro. You know what I mean? You don't become a all-pro wide receiver the first practice. Like you're not Jerry Rice. You're not touching down. You're not special. You're not Randy Moss. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like you not that. I could point to that. Two Hawks is that. You feel me? Like I could point to that. You feel me? Because they work. You can see it in their work, not just their mouth. Right? So with him, bless him. I just want people to know there's a difference between the New York Times and the National Enquirer. Right? The National Enquirer might have some things in there that's rooted in the truth, but for the most part, it's a fictional outlet. It's not held to the same standards as the New York Times. Right? So someone like him is not held to the same standards I am. First of all, I'm held to the standard of the truth. I can't be speaking for my people and our history and be like, what if?
And you grew up in your history. It didn't just drop in your lap.
But even then, I can't present things without a conclusion. I can't throw something up in there for you to keep juggling. See what I'm saying? So I just want people to see the difference between, like, you know, there's a difference between Alex Jones and a real, creditable, you know what I'm saying, journalist. You know what I'm saying? Even if Alex Jones has the credibility, the subject matter is not as, you know what I'm saying? It's not as creditable. You feel me? So this is the difference. So people are allowing people like Alex Jones to set the standard because we come from a conspiracy culture, right? And why? Because they didn't teach us everything and they lied to us. When really, they maybe didn't lie to us. They just was teaching their kids what they wanted their kids to learn. And our dumbasses was sending our kids to their schools. So was they lying to us or they lying to their kids?
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whose responsibility was it to teach our kids that we Indians? Was it the school system? The same people that y'all say denationalized us? Now they supposed to teach us that they, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are we talking about? Who are we mad at? Are we mad at them or are we mad at our elders? And if you're mad at your elders, have you taken the time to understand why they didn't tell you?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So who are we mad at? Oh, you mad because you here? Because you here because motherfuckers ain't talk about it. You know what I mean? It ain't had nothing to do with them tribes out west. That motherfuckers is out. They still doing they shit. Them niggas was busting guns in the 70s. They were still fighting the U.S. government in the 60s and 70s. So what make you think y'all gonna get a win against them?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Real shit.
Where that happened at? On the internet. That's it. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, there is no such thing as full-blooded Indians, right? That shit is bullshit. You ain't your mother's full-blooded child. You know what I mean?
Right.
So how you full-blooded anything? You know what I mean? So
I know that's right. We all a gumbo pot.
Yeah, we a gumbo. But what determines who you are is the community you was raised in, and the traditions you observe. Simple as that. Some of us grew up African American. You can't change that.
Right. Right.
I grew up African American. I just knew I was Lenape. But I grew up on Cosby, nigga. You know what I'm saying?
Duh.
Yeah,
Real
I just
shit.
knew that when
Real
the
shit.
Indian came on crying, I know that made me feel a way because
Right.
I was told I'm Indian. I'm Lenape. We're Indians. So me seeing this man who ain't even Indian shedding a tear, it still affected me
Right.
because I felt like what he was crying about was I'm linked directly to that. You feel me? Like
Real shit.
whether he was a real Indian or not. We don't know that shit back then, bro. Bro, in the 70s, niggas didn't know what slavery really was until Roots hit.
Right. You know what? I was born in 77. I did not know my father was in the military. Neighborhoods that I was in was diverse, you know. And I didn't know the difference between black, white, and Asian. I had an Asian homie down the street. I had a white family lived next to me. Had a Mexican family across the street. I did not know the difference until that movie came out, man. I did not know there was a difference. You know, so yeah, man, that's crazy.
Yeah. Roots fucked us up because for me,
Yeah.
all slavery was the first, it was like a chapter in the first day of history class. You know what I'm saying? It was like a quick read through, and they would show a bunch of like drawings of some dark people with look like diapers on, with chains around their neck.
Right.
So, man, with a funny hat, with a whip, and then you turn the page.
Right. Right.
That's what slavery was to us. You know what I'm saying? Even looking at the pictures of the slaves, I'm sorry, but I don't know any African American who would have identified with those people. You know what I'm saying? Like looked at them and go, "That's us." You know what I mean? We looked at them like they was. You know what I mean? Nobody looked at those slaves in them history books when they was teaching us in school and identified with those people. You know what I'm saying?
I couldn't. It just
No.
I don't know. Like
None of us. That shit wasn't even a real experience until Roots hit, and really, it was when they chopped that nigga's foot off.
Wow.
It was really the whole "what's my name" scene. When they was whipping them all that, that's what caused the trauma in Black America. That goddamn movie, bro. You know what I'm saying?
You ain't lying. Hey, you ain't lying, man.
Yeah.
That shit fucked me up as a little kid, man. I could have because I remember him being in Reading Rainbow when I was younger. We'd be in preschool, first grade, we'd see the Reading Rainbow. Then when I was older, I think it was doing reruns. You know?
Yeah. It was definitely reruns.
And they play that shit on TV, man. That fucked me up, King.
Yeah, they play that shit like every year.
Right. I was like, what the hell? It was that. And then I watched a movie called The Learning Tree and The Imitation of Life. And then I had questions. And then that's when my mind, it just clicked to something different, man. And then you got the music, Public Enemy, X-Clan, KRS-One, your partner. You know, just man.
Now let me ask you this.
What's up?
Roots fucked us up. What do you did to white people in America?
Woo! Yo, that's a great question.
Where would they have ever had? Listen, these white people in America just came here in 1870.
Right.
The majority of them. So we're talking about 100 years later. Where would they have gotten this whole slave experience from? Where would they have gotten that over 100 years to know what slavery in America was when they didn't get here till 1870?
Woo! Yo, that was a deep question. I've never thought about that. I know they was like, oh shit.
Oh no, they're like, oh, this is what it was?
Oh shit. Right.
Like,
oh wow.
You gotta understand, these motherfuckers came here for the most part And anybody wants to look it up, please do. I'm not saying all the white people here came here, but the majority of the white people that make up the population of the United States of America began to come here in 1870. It all was kicked off in 1861 with what? The the Civil War.
Right.
From the Civil War, when they couldn't defeat the South, what'd they do? They created land grant schools in the North,
Okay.
in the Midwest, to try to entice people from the South to come to the North. Because they're trying to break.
Something I didn't know about.
Because
So
yeah,
I'm learning right
the
now.
Morrell Land Grant Act was like 1962, 61 or 62. I mean,
What,
1862.
what is it called again?
The Morrell Land Grant Act. You ever see that speech where Dr. Martin Luther King is like, they gave them land, and he's talking about that, the Morrell Land Grant Act. Look it up. So
Okay.
you got the Civil War in 1861. Morrell Land Grant Act 1862. Am I right? Morrill.
Hold on real quick. My shit's slow.
Yeah, I got you.
What is it? How you spell it?
1862. First
Okay, let
proposed
me
when
put that in.
Morrell,
Let me put that in.
Morrill.
1862.
Yep.
M
Listen,
A
MO.
M O M O.
RRILL, Land Grant College. Act of 1862 set aside federal lands to create colleges to benefit the agricultural and mechanical arts. So they were creating colleges to teach these people, right? To teach the slaves and people they were trying to entice to leave the South how to run farms. Teach them how to
1862. Yep.
1862.
You on point.
Yeah. So the Civil War is over economics in the South. It's not really about freeing the slaves. It's
No,
about
it was about them making more money.
yeah. And slaves were a part of the economics. That's why it was a subject. But it was more about the economics. Remember, slaves, they're not arguing over people, they're arguing over the cost of operating a
Free
plantation.
labor and yeah.
Yeah, that's what they're arguing over. Not, oh, this is wrong, let's free the slaves. It's not what it's about.
Yeah, let's get that straight. It was economics, people. Oh, and
Economics.
everybody out there, please like and subscribe. And once again, check out my boy, Turtlegang NYC. Let them know your website again and your
Okay.
page real quick again.
So the website is turtlegang.nyc. YouTube is turtlegang.nyc. Instagram, turtlegang.nyc. And my Facebook is Norrisfrancisbranham.
Right on. Okay,
So,
go ahead, brother.
So you got 1962, the Morrell Land Grant Act. Like I said, that's done because they're trying to entice people from the South to come up north, right? We're going to teach you how to run your farms. So that doesn't work. So they're like, fuck it, we're going to free the slaves. If you can get free, so that's 1863, right? Lincoln frees the slaves.
Yeah.
So now they're saying, well, if y'all can get free, y'all can come up north, fight for your freedom, and then we're going to give you land and get y'all settled. We just got these new Morrell Land Grant Acts. Y'all come get your freedom. We're going to teach y'all. But shit, y'all already know it because y'all the slaves that have been doing everything from down south. You know what I'm saying? So now, mind you, in the midst of all this going on, it's nothing but free people of color all over the colonies, all over these states. These are free people of color.
And people got to know that it was just in the South, right? Just in them couple of states down there.
Well, no, it was slavery in all the states. But
really?
Yeah.
I thought it was just the South. Like
it was slavery in New Jersey and all that. It was slavery.
Okay.
But it was a different relationships. The South had a more antagonistic relationship.
Gotcha.
It was more ugly. You know what I'm saying? North, it was up north. It was a little slicker. It wasn't as in your face. That's even now. Like you come up north, you gonna be standing next to the same redneck down south, but he not gonna act like that. See what I'm saying?
Right.
He's not gonna be straight up with you. He gonna ball with you. He gonna do everything with you, and then he gonna go home and you a nigga, but he know not to act like that. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't act like that up here. Not
Right.
really. You gotta be out like in a real country type area. But so these Europeans, so they free the slaves. So if you
Go ahead and educate
yeah,
the people. I'll be right back. Go ahead and educate the
yeah.
people. Okay?
All right.
Right back.
So after the slaves were freed in 1863, for the most part, not all of them, obviously. In 1870, the next part of the plan was to create what they call a status called free white persons. And free white persons was a list of specific European nations and their descendants that could come to the Americas under or come to the United States under the status of free white persons. So a lot of people say that they hear the Moors use it, status as free white person and all that, and they try to base that on in the actual act. It states that Moorish descendants, right? But the Moorish descendants they're talking about are Moorish descendants of Portugal and Spain. So the Moorish descendants of Portugal and Spain in 1870 are the very same people who instituted the slave trade. All right.
The Moors.
The Moorish descendants of Portugal and Spain in 1870 are talking about the Portuguese slave traders.
Mm.
So so the Moors will try to say that the law says Moors are free white people, but what it says is Moorish inhabitants of Iberia or Spain, Moorish inhabitants of North Africa, right? They're talking about descendants of the conquistadors. When they use the term Moor, they're just using it as like Spanish ancestry,
Okay.
not that it represented a government. See what I'm saying? So because that same act, the 1870 what's it called? The 1870 Naturalization Act. It specifically says anybody of Moorish ancestry can't come to the United States as free white people.
Mm.
So basically what they were doing is they were creating a status of free white persons to entice all the poor nations of Europe to come to the Americas. So in Europe, you're a poor Slavic person. You can come to the Americas and be a free white person. See what I'm saying?
Right.
So they were bringing over. That's why they say, oh, the original slaves were Slavs. Slav means slave and all this. That's all mumbo jumbo that these people are getting third and fourth hand from like a Taj Tariq class. But they're not but they're not getting the whole build. They're just getting the highlights of it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So that's where they get this moving concept of all these silly shit that people say. But wait, hold on, where was I? I'll be going some places sometimes.
Well, you
Keep me back on my point.
You was just pretty much talking about how the Slavic, how they said.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, that's right. We're talking about the 1870 Naturalization Act. So that act basically, after the Revolutionary War was over, right? You had all these free slaves. You had free black people all over. You had the people of color who had been free for 100 years already.
Mm.
These slaves, these ex-slaves now, who do you think they went and worked for? Who you think they went to? What communities do you think they went to?
What, back to the plantation?
Some of them stayed on the plantations and became sharecroppers, but a lot of them went up and worked for these. Because remember, laws are changing. Revolutionary War is over, right? I mean, the Revolutionary War is over. England no longer has control of the colonies. So English law, which states you have to get your employees from one of these slaving companies, is over.
Wasn't a lot of us going over there to
No.
Britain, England, or
Early on, Christopher Columbus set forth a slave trade that at its peak, at the most, sent 6,000 Indians to England, parts of Africa, and South America.
right?
Not millions, not the slave trade started here and we populated Africa. None of that shit.
Nah.
Just at the
That
most.
just sound ridiculous.
Yeah, at the most 6,000. But
Yeah,
there's
not
not
that
any
much.
real documentation dealing with that. You know what I'm saying? But at the most,
Right.
but a lot of those Indians were also, see, you got to understand that the early trade, slave trade that was going on was here in the Americas, right? It was Barbados to South America. You know, a lot of times when they were bringing the slaves from Africa, they would bring slaves to South America and then take South American Indians and bring them to the north.
Right.
See what I'm saying?
Right.
So you bring
And how would
Africans.
they take Africans, bring them over here, and they already knew how to deal with the tobacco and everything? That was us that was already here.
Yeah, they were taking
You know?
different slaves, different Indians from different areas and putting them into different places. All that is true, but that doesn't negate the African slave trade. You know what I'm saying?
Not at all.
So that's the part that these pseudo people be trying. They read one part of it and they conflate it with everything. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So they read, oh, Columbus brought slaves. Then they try and turn that into this and that, and that's not what it was. Remember, history is a lot of things, but they're all simple.
So,
They
right.
all make sense. You know what I'm saying? It's not the thing that they're doing. So in 1870, basically, millions of Europeans came to the Americas on boats. This is where you get the white cargo ship from and all that, where they talk about white slavery. It wasn't white slavery. They're conflating different periods in history, right? They're conflating a time when Irish people came here as slaves with the 1870s when all these Europeans came here to become free white people.
Right.
See what I'm saying? Two different times. So I'm gonna show you a picture. Have you ever seen any of them pictures of them boats?
You know,
I'm gonna pull it
I
up.
don't know. I don't know what's the truth. Which kind of boats, what kind of boats they were. I hear so many different things.
Hold on. I'm gonna show
Turn me
you.
on. Turn me on to it.
You're not gonna believe this shit, bro. Cause see, people will tell you, oh, Europeans couldn't have lasted on these on slave ships because they don't have the. I'm gonna show you a picture of one of these boats right now.
Okay. All right.
All right, I'm about to put it up. You see that? That's just one part of the boat. See all
Damn.
them people?
Yeah.
I'm gonna show you better pictures.
Really.
Yeah, hold up. We just getting started, bro. Wait till you see this shit. It's motherfuckers hanging off boats, bro.
Yo, that's crazy.
This is when all the white people came to the Americas, bro. In the 1870s. The ones that were coming here before then were small groups of Irish and things like that. But when the bulk of the Europeans that come here that changed the course of what was going on in the Americas, look, these are wider angles.
Yo, that's crazy.
But these ain't even, watch, let me pull my Facebook
You're gonna have
page
to
up.
send those to me.
Yeah, I'm gonna send them to you. Yeah, I'm gonna send them to you. But I got even better pictures that'll blow you like, oh my God. And these are the things that they're not teaching us. So those people who came here as free white persons,
Uh-huh.
a better description of them, like the people that we would call them now, would be poor white trash.
wasn't they the people that was coming over? Wasn't a lot of them like locked up in prison that they were letting out to be like overseers?
Nope, that's them conflating the two different histories. That's what happened in parts. That's what happened with some colonies, right?
Right.
That's what happened in Australia. See, this is the thing, right? The English, like they say that about Jamestown, right? The English, right? They're
Right.
talking about
Right.
Jamestown, but the English didn't settle New Amsterdam. See what I'm saying? So you had different nations that had different policies. The Dutch, there was a slave for the Dutch company that got violated by one of his superiors. This, and the records are there. People can go get this stuff themselves. This man sued his manager for recourse and won. You know why? Because the Dutch had something in their political system that the English didn't have. It was called a district attorney.
Wow.
Yeah. So the concept of district attorney is not a part of English law. It comes from Dutch law. But when when the people of New Amsterdam negotiated the surrender to the English, that's what they demanded stay, which is what made the North a little different than the South. For the simple fact that we had a district attorney up here.
Wow. People, do your research.
Yeah, do your
If you don't
research.
believe, do your research. It's out there.
Yeah, it's out. I'm not gonna make none of this up for you, but let me pull this up so you can get a real good picture of these Europeans. Because a lot of this stuff, people be like, "Oh, they're taking it off the internet." I be hating to say shit like that, but that shit be true sometimes, bro. You know what I mean?
What
Like,
do?
they start sweeping shit. I hate to say that shit because it make you sound like some Alex Jones nigga, right? It make you sound like you making excuses, but yeah, they do. Hold up. Oh yeah, free white persons.
Like and subscribe, y'all. Like and subscribe. Share the video. We got
And,
Turtle Gang in the building.
So a lot of the stuff I talk about, all this stuff is gonna be on my Facebook. I tell anybody like,
Y'all go to his website. He has a lot of
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, how many videos you got, King? How many videos you got?
well, so
you
I
been doing
got,
this for how long?
yeah, I probably got about 800 videos on both my channels, but I want people to understand that these are 800 videos that are like edited videos. They're not just like, like this is a talk show platform. It's a lot of people that got millions of videos, but they're talk show platform videos. Turn the
You got
camera on. We have,
documentaries.
I got
you did a
videos.
damn good job with
Yeah.
them.
So my videos, there's people that got more videos than me, but they're not going like the level of information I'm trying to convey in these documentaries, short documentaries. I just think I put a little bit more into it, little, better thought out.
They're they're very well put together. You did a great job. Y'all go check it out. This brother got information for you. You don't believe it? Go do the research yourself. He's done the research. Just go check out his pages. Real talk.
All right, so yeah, I'm trying to find it because there's this one picture they have. It's a color picture, and when I'm telling you, so these are these giant cargo boats that they have now. These aren't them slave ships that Africans would have came on. These are these giant cargo oil liner ships.
All them damn people that was on it had to be like, yeah, all them damn people, yeah.
Like if you look up cargo liner ships in the 19th century, you're gonna see how big these ships are. And these are just the people on top of it. So needless to say, millions of Europeans came here after 1870.
After 1870.
Yeah.
That's a big point right
these
there.
These type of boats.
Yeah.
Those type of shits. These big ocean liner cargo ship type shits. And they were filled with Europeans fleeing out of Europe. You should see them, like they got pictures of them rushing the dock. Motherfuckers just hanging off the side of boats. Damn, I wish I could find them. It's the most insane thing you've ever seen. But for sheer numbers, there's way more white people coming over here on them boats than they was packing slaves into them slave ships. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's and these are the people that came. That's what Ellis Island is about. New York, Ellis Island. That's that time. All them white people was coming to Ellis Island and they had to sign their name and all that. This is that time.
Yeah, and it shows you in the movies.
Yeah.
They're getting out signing their names. Yep.
That's when they brought all the white people here. And those white people were fighting. Those white people were called immigrants, and the white people that were born here called themselves natives. So this is why, so check it out. Back then, how we argue over, are you native, are you this?
Yeah, talk about them terms, man.
Yeah. So this is why motherfuckers be like, we're not natives. We're not Native Americans. Because you got to understand that back then, I wouldn't have said I'm an Indian. I wouldn't have said I'm a native. I would have said I'm Lenape.
You would have said your tribal name.
Yeah. But the Europeans that were born here, as opposed to the ones that come from over here, they would have called themselves American and they would have called themselves native. They would have said they're Native Americans because they was born in America.
Right? That's where native come in. Native American.
Yes.
You being born. Anyone born here can be a native.
Is a native. So this is how the white people here differentiated themselves from all these white people that were coming over here.
Right.
They called themselves the Native Americans. They called us the Indians. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Native Americans and Indians were two different people. And those people were the immigrants. So when you watch the gangs in New York, you see that playing out. You see one group represents the natives and the other group represented the Polish and the Irish. And that's who they hated. Because they was coming over here and they represented, just like the Mexicans do, represent cheaper labor and motherfuckers like build the wall, they're taking on our jobs.
Yeah.
That's what all these poor white people that they was bringing into the country was doing. So the first beef was happening between these Europeans coming in and the Native Americans, who are the white people. They're upset over their jobs. So the racism started there.
Okay,
right?
Gotcha.
That's where the racism really started. Those white people were not, you got to understand that there are free people of color living outside the cities, farms, and they're interacting and living amongst the Indians. All the white people are living in the cities. So they'd be in Jamestown, they'd be in New York, they'd be in the fortified settings. See what I'm saying? They wouldn't be out living amongst the Indians.
Okay.
It would only be the black Europeans that married into the Indians that could do that. See what I'm saying? So the racism that was starting in the colonial America was initially between Native American or white people who were born here and the immigrants.
Is that where the term, is that when they start calling themselves white?
No, they called themselves white with the term. Nah, this is the thing. The Native American people that had already been here, they're not here as free white people. They're already here. The Europeans that were here before 1870 are not calling themselves white. They're calling themselves Americans. They don't call themselves German no more, Dutch, whatever they were.
Right.
They call themselves Americans because they revolted. So you're not going to revolt against England and still call yourself an Englishman.
England, yeah, exactly.
So the first Americans are white people. They're also Native Americans.
Yeah.
The first Native Americans,
is white people.
are white people.
Yes.
Yeah, they're not no tribe that call themselves American. And when they go, no, it's people in South America, the Amaru Khans. That's you playing with words. That's you fucking around with sounds. Them people didn't call them. Them people that y'all say are the Americans call themselves the Quiche people. Look them up. The Quiche, the Amara people, not American. You can't twist.
Morrow, yeah, I've heard that
You
term.
can't twist Amaro to American. And where you get Amara Ka from is Amaro is the Amaru is the deity. It's a spirit god. It's a
Okay.
deity. Ka means land. So they're saying land of the deity. That's not America. See what I'm saying? That deity is the feathered serpent or the plumed serpent. You know what I mean? But it just represents a plumed serpent just represents higher and lower self.
Look, drop that shit, King.
I'll get into that. That build to take me someplace else. That's a whole other build too. All these builds is
Hey,
within
you know,
themselves.
you this, like I said,
Yeah.
Mikasa Sukasa. You come here anytime and drop that knowledge.
So I'll come back randomly and we'll get into each specific build so it don't seem like I'm all over the place. This is just a basic like introduction or
This
random.
is the introduction to you, man. You many more.
All these builds could be 2-3 hour builds within themselves. You know what I mean? Like
No doubt.
I gotta pull myself out of the build once we get started.
Hey, you know, when I'm working, because I'm a truck driver, you know, when I'm working, man, I see them. I'm like, okay, I got time to listen to this. This is 6 hours.
Yeah, and I never thought
going in.
I never thought I'd be doing shit like that. I used to make fun of niggas like these niggas on here for 11 hours. And I look up, I'm like, damn, we on here 6 hours. But you know, I feel like amongst a lot of the bullshit, you know, we drop a lot of jewels that could help people. So
oh man,
we're gonna continue to do it.
I'll promote you. I'll throw your videos up on my timeline, man.
Yeah.
Definitely, man. You got a lot of knowledge, you know, a lot of insight. What people don't know, man. That's why I got you here to bring out this truth. You know, we gotta know who we are. We gotta learn this real shit. Because like you seen they putting in the books now that what they're what they say? There wasn't enslaved, they're indentured workers, or the Africans migrated over here. You know, they call it is they migrated instead of being, you know, what
being
really
enslaved. Yeah.
So we need people like you that know that real truth to bring it out, King. You know?
And they can only think about saying something like that if they see the fracture in our people, even some of them questioning whether or not that shit happened. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, man.
You know what I'm saying? And that's negating whole families that have whole stories to tell.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yo, bro, we ain't the only ones that got stories to tell, bro. You know what I'm saying? Everybody got a piece of this story they got to tell. And in the process of you telling your story, you can't be negating others.
Right.
Because that story, like this brother I went on the show the other day, let me tell you some of the silly shit these people be saying to me. You know what I mean? And I ain't even really get to the whole Dane Calloway shit. That's how unimportant he is. You know what I mean? But these silly people, this brother gonna have me on the show under the pretense that we're gonna talk about what's going on in California with the reparations. You know what I'm saying? Because rather than me talk down about it, if y'all know something, I'm open to learn. Teach me something, you know what I mean? Raise me up, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Right. So I figured I was gonna go on here to learn about what they did in terms of their contributions. Because right now, I was clowning the shit. I'm like, yo, they got motherfuckers up here talking about the dead homies should get money. So they talking about cutting checks for the dead homies, and you know what I mean? Like, I was, oh, bro, they up in the Senate, California, wherever they at. What? They up in there, bro. They up in there talking about. Dude said, I'm here to make sure that the dead homies, the ones that passed, you know, in the hood, we call them dead homies, make sure they get their check.
So shout out to the dead homies, but
shout out to the dead homies.
Yo,
you know
you can't make this shit up, bro. I believe that shit.
Look, then another nigga got up there and said, he said, I feel reparations should be paid as a gift, and we want it in gold bullion, equaling 16 trillion gold bullions per grandmother every 16 generations. I said, what the hell is this nigga talking about? I said, yo.
You said you was in an interview?
Nah,
I'm on someone's platform.
Well, no, listen, I made a video. Now, mind you, I'm not stupid. I know that whoever chopped this video up took all the buffoons.
Yeah.
And not the intelligent people that were saying real things. I understand that. But the point is, that's what they did. So this is what they put out. I took the video and I turned it into a spoof. but it was a real people, right? So
Right.
one dude, and then the third dude got up there and said, now mind you, they all got fezzes on, bro. They all got fezzes on. The third dude get up there and say, if y'all don't give us our reparations, God is going to destroy America. Now, if Marcus is really negotiating some real shit, y'all got to control that mic. These niggas
Them
should
ain't
not
the
be getting.
ones.
Them ain't the ones.
I think I seen something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
So I'm like, this shit can't be real. So the
Right,
nigga jumped on my, pardon me, the brother jumped on one of my like Instagram reels, like trying to get at me. Like what I'm doing is making it hard for people. I said, bro, I'm trying to figure out if this shit is real. You know what I mean?
Right.
So he was like, you know, it's freedmen families out here working hard, and this is just making. I said, bro, what are you mad at? I ain't make the video. He said, well, I didn't like what you said. I said, did you see the video? He said, nah, I didn't watch the video. I said, well, my comment is directly about those three fools and the shit they said. Like, if you would watch the video, you'd know what I was talking about, and you wouldn't have came at me all crazy. I said, but
Right.
you know what? I see that you passionate about this, and maybe y'all can teach me something. So he invited me on his show. So I go on his show, and it's the dude Lord Abba there. Now, Lord Abba, I ain't really got no contention with him, but he's a contentious type person. So first thing he starts asking me, he starts wanting to talk about another man. And this is the shit that I don't know how we have room for this in this indigenous aboriginal movement.
Right.
First of all, why is a man asking another man about somebody? And yeah, here I am talking about another man. Oh, you a hypocrite. Nah, it's shit people need to see. Gotta recognize the game plan. So when you see the shit happening, you already know to disqualify this nigga. See what I'm saying? So I come on there to talk about reparations, to get an education on reparations. First thing he wants to do is get me to slander another man.
Mm-hmm.
He wants me to agree with him that this other man and his whole family are not Indians. Man, I'm not the creator.
What that got to do with anything that we supposed to be talking about?
Listen, I'm not the creator. I'm not the most high. I'm not God. I'm not none of these people. I can't determine who anybody is. And it ain't for me. So don't come to me because y'all know I'm who I am. Don't try to somehow turn that into me condemning another man. You know what I'm saying? So I told him, I said, yo, from what I understand, this man is who he says he is, and who am I to say he's not? If this nigga say he a spaceman, my only job is to say, prove it to me. That's it.
That's it.
And if he don't want to
it.
prove it to me, he don't have to. And that still don't make him not a spaceman. It just means he didn't prove he's a spaceman. But it don't mean he's not one. You get the difference? I'm not taking that from you. I'm just saying you ain't proved that to me. So he basically tells me this man is not who he says he is. So I confront him straight up. I said, bro, I seen that video you did. It's a little disingenuous. I said, you called up a random family and asked them if they knew who this man's grandmother was. And then when that family didn't know who this man's grandmother is, you tried to use that as evidence this man ain't Indian. I said, that's wrong, bro. I said, that's like me calling up a Jackson. That's like calling up Michael Jackson's mother, and asking her if she heard of my grandmother. You know what I mean? Because my grandmother's a Jackson.
That up pretty much. I know you felt like, man, these.
And then once I seen this coming, I said, oh, here we go. And bro, we never talked about reparations, their involvement at all, bro. It turned into me defending myself. First, the show started off, we know you real. You're not one of these pretending Indians. We know you real. And then by the end of the day, this man's telling me, something ain't adding up based on my research. She's like, based on my research. So they tried to tell me that dude tried to tell me everything I'm saying is a lie because Walter Plecker didn't pass a law until 1924. Now, mind you, 2013, when nobody was talking about these things, they were just saying we got denationalized. I'm the one that said, yeah, and Walter Plecker did it. Right? You're not going to find too many people in the circles that I'm talking about that was talking about Walter Plecker before me. I introduced that subject to what you would call the New York conscious community. And from there,
Right.
all these other communities watch. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, niggas act like Sonetta. Niggas act like they ain't get their shit from Sonetta all over United States. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So
Right.
in those circles, that Sonetta circle, I introduced Walter Plecker. Nobody was talking about him. So now this brother gonna decide he wants to lecture me on Walter Plecker because he somehow feels like he found an error in my bill. Little do this
What?
man know, and this is how people, so he's like, oh, no, see, I see. So he's trying to disqualify everything I've ever said about myself based on a discrepancy with Walter Plecker. And this discrepancy is that the law, like, he didn't pass the Racial Integrity Act till 1924. So prior to that, on paper, they weren't changing people's identities. I had to explain to him people were not fleeing from a paper genocide came later. What was actually happening was a phenomenon called racism. And that's what was people were fleeing from. You're not going to find a law in the 1780s, in the 1700s, that says they were changing people's identities.
Right.
See what I'm saying? These people are looking for laws to validate their truth, not knowing that these laws are something like before the Jim Crow law existed. You think Jim Crow existed? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But before racism existed, do you think before the laws against racism existed, do you think racism existed? Of course it did. These are natural phenomenons.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? So for you to discount something because you don't have a record of the natural phenomenon being written down on a white man's book. See what I'm saying? Like, it was just the weirdest shit. So I'm like, so what are you trying to say? He was like, I'm saying you don't know nothing about Walter Plecker and this disqualifies you from everything. Right?
This was on his platform. While you on his platform, I guess.
Yeah.
Supposed to be talking about reparations.
Yeah.
He did a 360 on you.
360. Yeah,
Wow.
it was a back door.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
you know,
Yeah.
I'm who I am. So what I do is like okay, I see what's going on. He trying to paint a picture because he tried to do the same thing. What does what was going on in Virginia have to do with what's going on in every other place? So I'm like, first of all, the 1790 census came out before Walter Plecker was born. And you can see on the census, they're already changing people's identities.
Right.
Right? So that's evidence in itself that they were fucking with the people. You know what I'm saying? But like they're trying to get caught up in little nuances to prove me wrong. So he's talking this Walter Plecker shit. So what do? I pull up a note, one of Walter Plecker's documents. Right? That's why I tell people like my ancestors love me. Right? And they rock with me.
Oh, that's right.
They be rocking with me. They be right here. As soon as somebody say something, them motherfuckers be like, bloop, they send it to me. Send it to me. It may come through this person, through that person, but they send it to me. Right?
That's right.
So
That's
he talking crazy about trying to paint a picture like this Walter Plecker shit ain't got nothing to do with me. So you see this document right here? See this?
Okay. Yeah.
So up in this corner, you see this corner up here? Oh, pardon me. So up in this corner is some writing. I'll send it to you. Right?
Okay.
See that right there?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to read this to you. This is what it says. That's why I said we're going to come back to this later. Right? This is what makes a good comedian a good comedian. They set you up in the beginning, then they come back to the joke later. So this is what this says. This is a Walter Plecker's document, and that note that I'm showing you is handwritten by Walter Plecker. You see his signature.
Yeah, right.
Dr. Plecker. You see that? This is what this note says. No white Branhams in Amherst County. So this document here names the families that Walter Plecker was targeting.
Okay.
Okay? One of the prevalent names in the family of the people he was targeting is, let's see if you can see it.
Tilted down a little bit. Okay, there you go.
See that name that's circled?
Yeah, I see a name circled.
You
I
know what it
can't see it
says?
clear. I can't see it clear, but I can see it
Well,
circled.
I'll spell it for you. Branham. What's my name?
Brandon.
What's my name? Why? Because some of the first families that
Wow.
Walter Plecker targeted were the Branhams.
Brandon.
That's my father's side of the family. My father's side is Monacan and Creek. So this man is trying to paint a picture that Walter Plecker is not even relevant to me. And what do? Show him the document where Walter Plecker hand wrote my family's name on it.
Man, did he look like he ate a bowl of shit after you showed him that, man? You
No, because none of these people are fucking humble. He didn't even bear witness to what happened. And guess what? None of his viewers bear witness to what happened because it went over their heads. Because this is the thing. Because this is how I know a liar. A liar thinks you lying. See what I'm saying?
Wow.
A lot like a dude that says to you, a dude that thinks you'll sleep with his wife, that means he will sleep with your wife.
Right.
Because he's projecting onto you his own
This-
standards.
Right. Exactly.
See what I'm saying? So these people
yeah.
think I'm lying because they know they're lying.
Man, how long did you entertain this shit?
Once I realized what it was, I just fell back and they just cut me off. Like they disconnected me. I didn't even get all crazy. I'm not getting crazy with these people. Like Lord Abba, like listen, bro.
Right.
Like 10 years you was a Moor, writing manifestos saying we all Moabites. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
because my face ain't familiar and I ain't been all over the cameras, people think I ain't been around. But I seen them all come and go. They got about a 5-year window. That's why I do respect people like Lord Abba, or at least I did, because you've been around about 10, 15 years.
Right.
You showed some staying power.
Right.
But during them 15 years, you've been about 5 different things. What's next? You know what I'm saying? Like, you skipped the Hebrew. You might want to go get that in real quick.
Hey, man. Hey, my man.
And that's not a hit on Hebrew.
You gotta come back, bro.
And that's not a hit on Hebrews. I fuck with the Hebrews.
No,
I think
no,
they go.
yeah, we got
you know what I'm saying? But I'm saying he been through everything.
Right. No, we rock with the Hebrews. Shout out to the Hebrews, man. I studied that for 8 years. I don't think there was a day that went by that I didn't. You know what I'm saying?
And it'll serve you
we
well
with
too.
The Hebrews, we with y'all, man.
Yep, it'll serve you well going through because all those religious texts, they all got meaning and allegorical, information that you can use to elevate yourself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And I stay by myself, man. I can't follow no man. I just can't. But
not supposed to.
I met some great people, and we had builds and it was beautiful. Keep it like that, man. Shout out to my Hebrew brothers. But we're gonna wrap this up, my brother. You gotta come back.
Yeah, whenever you
come back, man.
Let me know. Let me know, and we'll have a more concentrated conversation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. I want more time with you, man.
Absolutely.
We got that time, man. We talking.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is. We bring some more people up. I got some family I want you to meet. So yeah, definitely, man. I really appreciate you, brother, for coming.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me,
tools, man.
I appreciate you, bro. Thank you for having me, and like I said, anytime, just hit me up, and like I said, I'll reference. I'll shout your name out to some people. You can get you some other guests on here that got heavier information than I could share with you, bro. Like, I'm a humble man. Like, that's the thing. I'm gonna bring you to people that know more. I'm not the dude that's going, shut the door on you. I'm gonna bring you to people that could really expound more for you. You know what I'm saying?
I appreciate that, man. I got 2 ears and 1 mouth, man. I'm gonna sit back here and man, I'll ask something here and there, but I'm taking notes. I'm trying to learn. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So hey,
and we want to learn about you as well, your family, what y'all got going on out there, because nation building is just that. You know what I'm saying? And you got to have relationships with other nations.
yeah.
So we all represent nations. You know what I'm saying?
That's
and that's
right.
how we trying to move. We trying to move like I represent a whole nation. Ain't got to be 1,000 people with me, but no, I represent a nation, and you represent a nation. You know what I'm saying?
I'm West Coast over here. You know, I'm
Mm-hmm.
rocking with you.
Yeah,
You know,
so
I'm gonna make it to where, man, you got to come out here, man.
yeah.
You
I
know,
definitely
so
want to get out there. Definitely some builds out there, some good people out there. So yeah, I definitely want to make moves and just start bringing things together. Like I said, Eastern Woodland Indians, West Coast, Southwest Indians, South American Indians, Canadians. Like we all fighting one disease called colonialism, and
I
it's
know
divided
that's
us. You know what I'm
woo, I
saying?
know that's right. I know that's right.
And if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be fighting each other. We'd be working together. You know what I mean?
And you know we could do it. It's possible. It is
Mm-hmm.
possible. It is possible. Please
So,
let everybody know how to get a hold of you, man. They got to see these documentaries you got. You know,
mm-hmm.
just man, let them know. Give them everything. The T-shirts, all
Okay.
that. Let
Yes,
them know.
sir. So yeah, our main website is turtlegang.nyc. We got a lot of information on there. We also have some merch on there. We don't ask for people to send us money. We just ask to do fair trade. So if there's anything on there that you like, cop it. You know what I mean? Let's do some fair trade. You know what I mean? If you got anything that you think I might be interested in, send me the link. We like literally do fair trade. We know what it means to open up relationships with other nations and other people. We know economics is a part of it. We know tradition and culture, exchanging things. This is a part of, you know what I mean, building nations and healing nations. So
That's right.
turtlegang.nyc is the website. Facebook, it's Norris Francis Branham. My Instagram and my YouTube are turtlegang.nyc. But if you go online, if you go in your Google and just type in turtlegang.nyc, anything Turtle Gang, Turtlegang Edutainment, my stuff gonna come up.
That's what's up, man. Love you, brother. Appreciate
Love you
you.
too, bro.
And
Appreciate you.
we'll be back. I'll be having him back on soon. So
Absolutely. Thank you for
thank you,
having me.
brother. And I will be getting back with you. Everybody like and subscribe. Get at my brother, man. He's a real one. Real talk. Thank you for
Peace,
coming
bro.
to the Big Twizz Show, people. Like, subscribe, and we out.
Peach Canal.
Right
We
on.
out.
Peace out.
Peace.
The Big Twizz Show. The Big Twizz Show.